Добрый день, or доброе утро, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the joint webinar on digitalization, new opportunities for Russia-Swiss business cooperation, organized by the Ministry of Industry and Trade of Russia's Trade Mission of the Russian Federation in Switzerland, and my organization, the Joint Chamber of Commerce, Switzerland, Eastern Europe, Central Asia and South Caucasus. My name is Dorit Salas. I'm Managing Director of the Joint Chamber of Commerce, and I will moderate today's webinar. Before we begin, I would like to just indicate some rules of the road for today's webinar. All participants are kindly asked to mute your microphones. You will have an opportunity to ask questions by putting them in the chat function. And I, as the moderator, will read your questions and address them to the participants. We have a very rich and super interesting program today. Before we launch into the presentations, I would like to invite Mr. Michael Fedorin, who is the Deputy Director of the Department for Europe, North America, CIS, and the Multilateral Economic Cooperation of the Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade, to address you. Mr. Fedorin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Salas. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So thanks for inviting. Really happy to be here today. This is second time we're organizing a business mission for our IT companies, and it's obvious that the topic is really very relevant. 2 years have passed since the beginning of the pandemic. We keep on adapting to new reality, and as we all see, the crisis has accelerated the transformation in the economy and industry and the society itself. So beside that, it intensified the boost of digital technologies, and no doubt in IT companies are among main benefiters from this new reality. I suppose you all heard about the figures presented by Gartner's experts. They expect their expectations for this year is rather optimistic. They expect growth of about 6.2% of the whole industry, and the most successful segments are expected to be corporate software, devices, as well as IT services, who grow approximately in 6%. The Russian services market didn't reduce last year. It was, I suppose, a good news for our IT companies. It even grew in showing good figures, I suppose. It was about 14%. The amount of the market of Russian domestic markets reached $25 billion. And we are still optimists regarding the market's growth, but in the same time we can see the monopolization of specific IT market segments by huge technological giants. It creates difficulties for SMEs all around the world, and it becomes more and more challenging for them to run new promising projects alone. to enter the market. And in this case, suppose that the collaboration of several companies can be a good solution for them. It will help them to increase their competitiveness and the quality, of course. I'm sure that our companies, as well as our countries, are really interested in developing relations in this area. We're willing to start. We are looking forward to cooperate with our Swiss partners. I'm sure that today's event will give an additional impulse to our mutually beneficial cooperation. And together with Russian IT companies, it's my pleasure to greet today Valentin Makarov, the president of Russian Association of Software Developing Companies in Russia, as well as Anna Zlepkina, the head of international projects of Skолково Innovation Center, who will present complex proposals for the cooperation strengthening. So thank you for your attention. I wish all of us, the participants of today's business mission, a fruitful conversation, which I'm sure will create an additional value. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mikhail Fedorin. You already highlighted some very important points that we will return to in the course of today's discussion. I would like now to hand the mic to Sergei Avramov, the head of the Russian Trade Mission in Switzerland.
Thank you, Mrs. Doris Salas. Thank you, Mr. Michael Fedorin, for your introduction and inputs. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, I am very pleased to welcome you to our digital event. It is very nice to meet you and hear your voices. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much indeed to Mrs. Doris Salas for your support in organizing and moderating of that event. I'm also sincerely grateful to all co-organizers of the webinar who have helped us prepare and promote it. I'm confident that it will be informative to all our participants. And I'm pleased to say many words of gratitude to Mrs. Anna Antonova from the RUSSOFT Association, as well as to my colleague from the Russian Trade Mission in Switzerland, Mr. Yaroslav Dorofeev. They did a really great job to make the idea of this event real. As for the agenda, well, Dorit has already indicated we will receive a wide scope of information about Russian IT technology sector and hear presentations of 8 really top ranking companies, Russian companies, who have gained substantial experience in terms of digitalization. But having said that, I would like to stress that those companies constitute only a small part of the whole variety of Russian IT companies who have got advanced modern solutions for different sectors of economy and are interested in cooperation with Swiss businesses. It would certainly take a lot of time to present all and every of them to you, but to provide you with more concrete information, we'll send you additional presentations after this seminar. On the Swiss side, so apart from the presentations of Russian companies, today we will hear presentations of top Swiss experts in the digital area. Mrs. Diana Engechwiller from Digital Switzerland and Mrs. Gundula Heinatz-Bürki from Data Innovation Alliance. I'm pretty sure that it will be of big interest for all of us to hear their comments on how Swiss digital ecosystem works and how data-based value could be created together with Russian companies. We also welcome the legal experts, Mrs. Maria Winkler and Mr. Bühlmann, who will expand on significant matters who might affect business activities of Russian IT suppliers in Switzerland. We are also looking forward to hearing a speech of Mr. Patrick Kessler, who is a leading expert also in terms of e-commerce. I frankly believe that today we uncover cross-border cooperation points, which will help all of us establish useful cooperation between Russian and Swiss companies in the field of IT technologies. The Russian trade mission in Switzerland will support every Swiss-Russian communication and collaboration in the digital area. We are really ready and eager to provide you with all necessary information and support to ease up the way towards mutually beneficial business projects. Please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sergei Avramov, for your, your welcome statement. I would like to second the word of thanks to all our partners, starting with the trade representation on behalf of the Joint Chamber of Commerce, but also RUSSOFTT, Skолково, Digital Switzerland, and Data Innovation Alliance. Our organization, the Joint Chamber of Commerce, Switzerland, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and the South Caucasus, has as its mission the promotion and the strengthening of business between Swiss and Russian companies, also Swiss foreign direct investment and trade in the Russian market. In this sense, we not only focus on sectors of opportunity that are priority for the Russian economy, but we also focus on specific regions outside of the urban centers of Moscow and St. Petersburg. The digital arena, I wouldn't even call it a sector anymore. I would call it an all-encompassing reality that cuts through every aspect of our lives. And with COVID-19, as Mikhail Fedorin pointed out, the pandemic was an accelerator of digitalizing business processes and also domestic living. So it is a very timely moment now to look at this topic more closely. Russia and Switzerland are leaders of digital innovation in and of itself, but also in many other sectors. The question is, where can each country and the companies in each country support each other in the area of IT solutions and business process management? I look upon this as the aim of today's webinar, to answer the question, where is their compatibility? Where are the opportunities for partnership? And to really showcase in more detail what each economy and what each sector, digital sector in Russia and Switzerland respectively have to offer the other. In the morning, we will look at the Swiss ecosystem in digitalization. We will also look at the legal aspects of data protection. In the afternoon, we will zoom into what is happening in Russia. We will have an excursion through the operations of about 8 leading Russian digital companies. So I think by the culmination of today's event, we in Switzerland and also in Russia will be better informed to take new partnerships forward. So having completed my word of welcome, it now gives me great pleasure to hand the microphone to Diana Engachvila, who is Senior Director and Head of Public Dialogue and Digital Day at Digital Switzerland. She will talk about the Swiss ecosystem and opportunities for Russian companies. The mic is yours.
Well, thank you very much. And also thank you for inviting me to this session. I feel very honored to share some information on Switzerland. I would share my screen so you can see the presentation. Do you see the presentation? I assume yes.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay, I'm gonna do here small. So, okay, well, Yes, so what I would like to talk about is, first of all, quickly also for your information, where is Switzerland actually standing internationally? Also not to forget, internationally, the perception is totally different because we are not that good in marketing. So where are we standing? Then the second thing, Digital Switzerland, what is our role? What are our projects? So you get a feeling what challenges is out here, but then also what we do as work. And then the third I would like to talk about is the cooperation with Digital Switzerland. What could be eventual cooperation with IT companies and us. And then what I also was asked to quickly go into the Swiss business culture, which is so much depending on also the region of Switzerland. So I would like to get into those 4 topics. Now, let's quickly look into where Switzerland stands internationally. There was just on the 29th of September, there was a ranking, a digital competitive ranking coming out from IMD. They do that every year. And we always around number 6 worldwide. But that and there's some section that it measured knowledge, technology, and future readiness, and but we always kind of stuck there. And I also would like to quickly also mention, I skipped that one, but here what are kind of the advantages, but also the disadvantage of Switzerland, or weakness and strength. So strength. To give you a picture of Switzerland is definitely the international experience that we have. There's a lot of international come to Switzerland, but also highly skilled personnel. However, there it seems to be really great at the moment, but also to see that it's mostly people from abroad coming to Switzerland, because also living in Switzerland is a high quality. And so we have there also a challenge to make sure that, the Swiss population is growing up to very high skilled personnel. I will come back to that afterwards. And then also the scientific research legislation is good, and knowledge transfer that we're strong. And our weaknesses, to give you a picture, is especially starting a business and closing a business. That is still quite a tough one. And also we see female researchers in STEM matters. We have very few women in general. Also, if you look at the CEO, in Switzerland, there are not many women, so this is something that we need to improve. I remember one number in 2020, there was calculated as ICT. There were about 16% women. So it's quite low. So that's something just also to show what how Switzerland's standing with the strengths, but then also weaknesses. Now, Digital Switzerland, I would like to quickly talk about what we're doing. Why do we even exist? So Digital Switzerland, you have to imagine it's an association. We're member-based. And what we do, we kind of push forward initiatives that are cross industry, where we need several stakeholders to push something forward. Our members, we have about over 250 members now, and we tackle different topics that are really important to make Switzerland kind of a leading digital innovation hub. That's our mission. Exactly. So also to show you how we do it, we make sure we think ahead, what challenges coming towards Switzerland. We mobilize the stakeholders, and we activate and implement several projects. Now, I also wanted to quickly show you 250 members. We started in 2017, 16, there around. We started with big corporates who became a member, or also founded this Digital Switzerland. And And then we realized, yeah, it's not good to only have corporates. We have to involve the entire Switzerland ecosystem. So by now we have a lot of SMEs, academia like EPFL, ETH is involved, regions. If you know Switzerland, we have different regions, so they are part, NGOs, federations. So what we're trying to do is kind of bring all of those stakeholders together and make sure we have one alignment with also the government. And that's a typical Swiss thing, right? That we have all those regions, those cantons, each canton does something on their own. And then that's why it's hard to also create this power. And that's what we're trying to do, to align basically the interest of Switzerland. And it's an association that has quite a lot of power behind. Again, not only the corporates, but SME, academia, and so on. Just also to show you, well, that's all the partners. I skip over that. But then also to show that we have a strong governance. On one side, we have the association with a steering committee, executive, etc. We have a foundation that is stemmed by really the CEOs of Switzerland. And they are even engaged in projects directly with the head of Digital Switzerland. So they not get paid or anything. And that's a very rare and unique constellation. And you see there's some corporates, but also a lot of WWF is also there. Then we have IMD, like university, ETH. So they're really strong personalities to have the interest to push Switzerland forward. So then we have the executive committee, same strong personalities behind it to really push that forward. Then now I would like to dive into some projects that we're pushing. So that also shows the ecosystem, who we're working with, but then also what projects are really close to our hearts. So here you see those areas that we're focusing on. And I will go quickly into each of them. So here we have the startup ecosystem. Education is super important. I mentioned before, education is important because in 2028, we expect actually a lack of ICT workforce of 35,000 people. So it's quite a really important point. Then we do networking amongst our members to make sure they collaborate. Then international connectivity, meaning we have to represent ourselves also internationally. Then politics, we have to make sure that politics gets the information in which direction we think we should go, and we collaborate with them very closely. Cybersecurity is one of the important stakes of or strategic pillars of the government as well, so we're pushing that too. Public dialogue, that's my area. It's about really bringing the public on board. I will talk about it just later. And then we have the collaborative innovation, which is about members creating innovation amongst each other. So let's dive into those, like cybersecurity. That could be interesting for you as IT companies. There we make sure we have expert groups where we again take all stakeholders together, administration, association, business, and so on, to make sure we have one direction of strategy. So that could be an interesting point for you to look into it. But then also we make sure that we create awareness on cybersecurity for our SMEs. We have a quick check for them. And they make sure that they know where they at the moment. And the Swiss population, by the way, or Switzerland, is built mainly on the SMEs. So corporate is a very small part of Switzerland, and main is SMEs. Then the digital day, that's my baby. So the digital day has the goal to onboard the public into the world of digitalization and innovation. Main goal is to have them change their attitude or mindset towards a more positive attitude towards innovation and digitalization. This is moving forward better and better. And how do we do that? So we had the first 3 years where we created awareness. So you have to imagine in 2017, we had across Switzerland big hubs where people just could go there and try out virtual reality, talk to specialists. And we had a huge TV show on stage, so they can really evolve and talk and learn and experience digitalization. Then now we're moving in a phase where we want to actively involve the public. We have, at the moment, we have a pre-phase of Digital Day. The Digital Day is on the 10th of November, where we involve them in 600 free activities, like courses. So public can just go to the website, digitalday.swiss, and then visit 6 weeks long, 600 courses for free on digitalization. So, and by the way, there's 7 other countries who took our example and implemented in their countries, like Sweden, Germany, Liechtenstein, Serbia, and so on. So quite a lot of countries now doing that as well. So that's the society. By the way, IMD Digital Competitive Ranking also mentioned the readiness of the society is a very big factor to implement the innovation in the country. So a few impressions, how that looked like in previous years. And then the inspirational networking, what we do is we bring the network together, the members, so they can collaborate. One of the biggest is the Digital Gipfel, which happens in the Dolder in Zurich, where we bring really the CEOs together to make sure we move forward in Switzerland. Then the startup ecosystem, very important. A couple of years ago, we were not really a nation where you want to do a startup, but today we bring really startups together with investors, with different stages of startups, scale-ups, or also early startups phase, and then we have partnerships with the different, like NOAA, Top 100, ETH, and so on this topic. Then lifelong learning, that's what we're pushing also very forward. That's also a field that might be very interesting for you. We have a lot of talents. However, we have to push that even more. So as I mentioned, 2028, we have a lack of 35,000 people. So there I see also potential of working with Russia, right, to exchange those talents. And there we're really working forward towards building this talent pool, one on the side of the corporates and the companies, SMEs, that they make sure their employees get engaged in lifelong learning, but then also the young talents, make them excited about STEM. And we also pushing this ICT Berufsbildung, which is basically kind of education for ICT. So that's very important. I skipped that. Then also interesting is the collaborative innovation part. It's called LEAP. What we do there, we have our members, they come together and define a challenge, and they have normally not worked together before. I give you an example. There was a challenge that people in Switzerland don't measure their blood pressure. And a lot of people have this issue because you need this whole, construct. You have to buy something to measure it. So they define that as an issue. And then all those partners, they create then an app where you can measure your blood pressure very quickly on an app. So, and that's so great because a lot of members that have not worked together and launched collectively a product into the market. So that's something that I believe could be also something to look into for you. Then international connectivity, as mentioned, there we're working with a Swiss tech partner, as a Swiss tech, making sure we represent Switzerland abroad. I'm flying just tomorrow to Dubai World Expo. So there we have this exposure slush, you know, the Web Summit, Vivatech, and so on. And we also make sure that we travel to the tech hubs. So it could be an amazing cooperation if we could come to Russia and have an exchange there with your tech hubs, for example. Then political economic environment, just very briefly, here it's really to make sure that the important decisions of the government towards digitalization and innovation are taken. And we also make sure that the members can exchange with parliamentarians, for example, ParlDigi, which is a parliamentarian group that foster the whole digitalization innovation. So that's what we're also pushing for. And then we have the Swiss Digital Initiative. This is something super interesting for the public, but also for B2B. What we're trying to do there, this was founded 2 years ago. So for the public, it's very difficult if you use an app. You don't know how well are your data protected. You would need to read through the terms. Nobody does that, we know. So what we're trying to do here is to create a label to make sure the public knows, okay, here, if I use this application, my data is really well protected. Here, not so much. On here, very well. So people can kind of understand at least how the data is protected. So here also, this initiative was done by different stakeholders from corporates, SME, politics, and all together and moved now towards this direction. So this is our project. It gave you hopefully also a little bit the ecosystem in the sense of what topics are very important in Switzerland at the moment. There are many more, but these are the ones that we're focusing at the moment. So how can we cooperate with Digital Switzerland? There are a few things, obviously, the Digital Day that I mentioned for the public. We have 8 countries who do the Digital Day. Maybe there could be no cooperation in Russia where we set up the Digital Day for the public if that's needed. But then also this business trip, this tech hub business trip, it would be super interesting to exchange also, you know, where's Russia standing, where's Switzerland standing, to have this exchange like we're now going to Dubai. And then, yeah, I mean, maybe it could be interesting for you if you want to have a deeper connection with Switzerland to become member of Digital Switzerland, to get all the connections and also help us to move Switzerland forward. And then if you want to move to Switzerland, if that's a topic, then we're not the right partner here, but one of our partners with Switzerland Global Enterprise, I think there's also somebody here joining, that would be the right partner. So we basically a network, and we help wherever we can to make sure Switzerland is flourishing. And then the Swiss business culture, that would be, I hope, also interesting if you don't have experience yet with Swiss people. So first of all, you see here the Swiss map. We have 4 languages in such a small country, like French, German, Italian, and Romansh. Romansh is only spoken 1%. But you also see that there's culturally differences between, you see the blue and the red part of Switzerland. It's called the Röstigraben. There's like already different mentality on how to make business. So it really depends where you are. So we joke always around, I'm from the German side, and we always joke around that the French side, they are not, you know, they drink more like wine, and they joke about us that we only work and don't know how to live. So that's a little bit kind of something that we joke around. But then also, I think across Switzerland, super important to be very punctual and very efficient, tidy. We're also, if we meet, it's very important to have a small talk, like how are you and so on, but then also go into business. Our business culture is not that very aggressive, not at all. Actually, we're trying to work around, try to convince the other person, listen, and then respond. I mean, so it's a very atmospheric, we like to have a good atmosphere even while negotiation. So this is, and of course, we try always to do a win-win situation. And yeah, how to make business easiest, I think, is really going out there and connecting, because yeah, connecting is important, but also the business environment is very merit-based. So that means you have to show that you're really interested, that you engaged, and that you're hardworking, and that's what Swiss people like. And it takes a little bit time until you get the trust of a Swiss person. But once you get the trust, then you basically, we call it, then you got the trust for your whole life. So this exchange is super important. So yeah, that's it. A quick intro to Switzerland and digital Switzerland. And I hope, yeah, I could give you an introduction to it in those 20 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Diana. That was a very interesting presentation. You certainly did introduce us to what Digital Switzerland does. What would interest me, and I think probably also our audience, is you mentioned that there is a potential scarcity of skilled professionals. The pipeline of skilled IT professionals going forward is not going to be adequate for the needs of the marketplace. So I would like to ask you, what would a Russia software developer or programmer or Russia IT company in general, how would they get their foot in the door to find opportunities where they can somehow help to fill this pipeline?
This is a very good and difficult question. Thank you. Well, I would say to get a step into the door of Switzerland is definitely getting in touch with all those players in Switzerland, Digital Switzerland, our members, and so on, to also make sure there's a pipeline of ICT talent from Russia coming in. So I could see maybe kind of a talent exchange program between Switzerland and Russia. I think that would be super interesting, and also preparing Switzerland to make sure we have enough. So I think the most direct way would be to really to start with Digital Switzerland, and then you know, meet the community of Switzerland, and then there's so many collaborative projects going on that you know, you can get engaged, and even you can say, hey, that's an issue, a challenge, how can we solve that? And then if we think, hey, that's a really important challenge on the talent side, then we support you also with our members to implement that. So it's also up to your engagement on that front. Mm-hmm. And maybe to add, it's very difficult to go towards schools. We tried that several times, but it's really, really hard to activate schools. So this is something that we try to not go directly. It's super hard. That's why if we talk about ICT skills, it is more after school.
Right. And maybe in terms of exchange and bringing in young talent, something with a more defined a relationship with Skолково, for example, where you know, you do get young people that are skilled in the cutting edge digital and digital skills. That could be something as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. I think this has gotten us off to a very promising start. I would like to now invite Gundula Heinatz-Burki, who is Managing Director of Data Innovation Alliance, to tell us about digitization and database value creation within the Data Innovation Alliance in Switzerland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Здравствуйте. So welcome to my presentation about the Data Innovation Alliance and database value creation in Switzerland. So as you already heard, so we have in Switzerland a huge innovation ecosystem. Diana told you or mentioned already this survey that Switzerland is an innovation leader in Europe, and it was just published, this survey. You can read it afterward if I send the presentation to you. And our focus, our main focus is the knowledge and technology transfer from research to industry for using artificial intelligence. And there we have a good ecosystem as well in Switzerland. We have two huge programs. It's called InnoSwiss. It's a innovation agency from the federal government, and the Swiss National Foundation. And we have several innovation networks. They are called national thematic networks, and we are one of them. And as you already heard, so we have several innovation networks around digitization, similar to Digital Switzerland. We are also an association, and we are dealing with a more focused topic on database value creation. As you know, all is around data now, and that's why we believe that we are also in front of this topic. And additionally, we have several innovation communities for startups. We have several programs, several associations as Venture or the Swiss Entrepreneur Foundation. So what is the Data Innovation Alliance? We are a Swiss-wide innovation network of industry from large and SMEs, as small and medium enterprises, to startups and research. And there we bring all players together because we believe that only we can move further together. And our main focus is from data to business. Data is as asset, but what can you do with it? And there we are dealing with creating new business models, services, or products. Our history is similar to Digital Switzerland. We were founded also in 2017 with 33 members. And in the last 4 years, we got established communities with 80 members from industry and academia. And we bring together not only the C-level, but also the experts. That means the data scientists, the innovation leaders in the companies, and the researchers, the senior researchers, the professors, and they should work and collaborate together. And our main objective is to start concrete collaboration projects or innovation projects. And that is our result or outcome after the first 4 years was 70 innovation projects. And we believe that was a good starting point because we saw some concrete collaboration between research and industry. And so we believe that we can provide a significant contribution to make Switzerland recognized for data-driven value creation. And from this year, we got again some funding for this National Thematic Network Innovation Booster. And that is a program from our Agency of Innovation, the InnoSwiss, for pushing this innovation idea, bring the innovation culture to our SMEs, to the businesses. And support interdisciplinary teams on concrete topics. And our topic is similar to the last 4 years. It's data-based value creation. And there we bring now in the open innovation culture, and we encourage the businesses to become more open, to work together, and to bring different perspectives on their challenges. And for this program, we defined 4 specific focus topics, and we can bring in our community and their expertise. And of course, we hope that we become in the next 4 years a leading open innovation network. As you already heard, I can skip it. We have several industrial members similar to Digital Switzerland. They are from cross-industry. They are from all parts of Switzerland, larger companies, but also smaller, and a lot of startups, because we have a specific startup program running. And of course, we encourage them to bring concrete innovation topics on the table to do applied research on it. And how are we driving innovation? We have 3 pillars. So the first one is inspiration. We make achievement visible with specific events. We have our own annual conference. I come later on this. It's a Swiss conference on data science. It took place this year, the 8th time. And that is collaboration between research and industry, but also international wide. And also we collaborate with several other networks because we are small, and we believe that we can only work together and bring their added value for all of us. The second pillar is the education. As you already heard, so we have an attractive research system in Switzerland, and high educated people from abroad come to Switzerland, but we see that our businesses need also special further training education. And so our research partners bring this further education to the industry, but also some specific seminars if this is needed. And this we organize from the Alliance. And the third pillar is for us, the most important one is innovation, because there we encourage our SMEs to make applied research or science-based innovation in all 3 different levels: business models, services, or product development. So I start with the first one, with our annual conference. As you see here, we already advertising the conference of next year. It's a Swiss conference on data science. It will take place in June, as every year, for 2 days. And 4 of our main topics are AI for cybersecurity, AI for humanity, and all the topic about machine learning operation. But most important, or nowadays, is implementing social acceptable AI applications. And the call for papers and presentation is already out. You find this calls on our website. And also you can submit a paper or presentation, and the steering committee and program committee will define if we will invite you for this presentation. 2 years ago, we had already a participant, but it was online from Russia, and we were really positively surprised that they came to us. Only online, but still. And you find on our flashback videos impressions of the this year conference. For our researchers who are now in the webinar, this conference is also IEEE sponsored, so you get really high quality double-blind papers. So because we are really small, we are organizing with partners also event. You see it here. So our topic is Industry 4.0. So we are collaborating with Industry 2025, or we have with a huge fair organize the Smart Maintenance Conference running. We are collaborating with several research partners that we are organizing specific workshops as the Digital Health Lab conference. It happened just now, or the VTech Together conference. It was just last weekend. And also we are focusing on matchmaking, bringing the appropriate partners together, that they find the nugget and then they can proceed further with shaping and testing their innovation idea. So we have until now 12 expert groups running that are joint initiatives from research and industry. So all of this have a leader from the academia and one of industry, so that we can trust that this topic is relevant for both, that they see there is applied research on this topic, and second, industry needs this for the future. So you see it here. So some of them are really have a strong technical focus as machine learning cleaning or natural language processing. Some of them are more in the infrastructure level as big data and AI technology or privacy technology for data collaboration. And some of them are really industry focused as smart maintenance, digital health, and of course, some of them have cross industry topics as the data ethics. And our expert group Data Ethics published just last year the ethical codex. It's a joint collaboration from research and industry, especially for SMEs in Switzerland. And it is published on our website in 4 different languages. As you heard already, we have different languages. It's published in French, Italian, German, and English. We missed the Rätoromansch, but we believe that these people can read the other languages as well. And I have 3 examples with you. What is in for the expert group Machine Learning Clinic? It's they organized frequently meetings to relink machine learning with industrial practice, to collect best practices, to learn from each other and to bring it to other industries. And these real-world use cases are relevant for the other SMEs, but also for research, that they see what are the needs of the industry. And I mentioned here some topics as machine learning for vision technology. Very strong is our research member, academic member, CSEM. I know that somebody is here in the call as well from CSEM, because they are leading also this expert group. The other expert group is digital health. That is a hot topic in Switzerland now. And we had this as a main topic last year in our annual conference. But we are dealing here with especially similar knowledge and exchange for developing advanced data-driven healthcare solution on all different levels, as improved prevention, that is really important for the Swiss people, diagnosis, treatments, and aftercare. And there we have partners from hospitals, as well as from research and from industry, who are building such solutions in these expert groups. And one topic nowadays is the digital sleep health. So in Switzerland, there are also some issues, not only about diabetes, and of course, trust in medical AI systems, because that is really relevant, that you can convince your patient to use these technologies. And the third expert group is a smart service expert group. They're really active, and they built a platform for sharing best practices for developing and commercialization of smart services using data. So they come from the design level, how to build new innovative services for B2B and B2C, and then make it concrete as an implementation. But they start with as you know, with a point where you discuss first the hidden pains and gains of the customers. And afterwards, they design the appropriate services. And a topic from the last 2 years or a program was about digital twin for our manufacturers, because the manufacturers need this kind of support and technology. And if you are a company who is dealing with this topic, digital twin, then of course I'm happy to hear it. And our last one, our innovation program, is the Data Booster. Similar to our whole mission, it's all about innovation in database services for manufacturing and the service sectors. And we are focusing here similar to the expert groups to 4 main topics. That is Industry 4.0, as I mentioned before, and smart services, because we believe that especially our manufacturers needs support and using digital data and technologies. And then we have 2 topics. They come more from the technology side. It is there we see a lot of untapped potential. That is language-based human-machine interaction and spatial data analytics. And in both topics, we believe that we have still a lot of potential using satellite data or bringing specific language-based services to the customer or to the businesses. And there we concrete shape innovation ideas and test it. And we get additional, or we got additional funding for this program. And if you have a site in Switzerland, we are open to support you as well if you want to shape such challenge or an idea. And of course, with this program, you can get additional expert knowledge and support from the appropriate partners. That are the focus topics more in detail, but I believe you get my presentation afterwards, and then you can go deeper in it. As you see, we are working with different partners together, because we believe that we only can work together or collaborate, and then we get the best solution for the company and finally also for the economy or for the society. And if you know more about us, then you are welcome to our websites, datainnovation.org and the Data Booster program. And of course, you can approach me directly afterwards. Thank you. Are there some questions?
Thank you very much, Gundula. I do not see any questions in the chat function. So I'm going to permit myself a question. Actually, maybe it's 2, but let me start with the first question. In terms of your Data Booster program, you've talked about potential, untapped potential in areas such as language-based human-machine interaction and spatial data analytics. Now, where do you, so this is something that you will continue work on, or do you need expertise? You don't have the expertise. And in a more general sense, is it possible for Russian IT experts to get involved in your Data Booster research program, applied research program?
Yes, in general, yes, that is possible. Because we are building in the beginning a consortium of different players or partners who are working together on a specific topic. If you see spatial data analytics, if you have a topic, maybe building a service for a specific industry based on satellite data, and that is not in place until now, then of course we try to build a specific team, or you can ask for who could be my partner, and then this consortium can work together on this specific topic. And we are only starting with, or we are supporting this initiation phase for bringing research and industry together. And afterwards, when they found them, then they maybe submit a specific research project that is funded by InnoSwiss or by SNSF. And of course, then it's another funding. In our case, we are bringing the appropriate people together. And especially if you have researchers on specific topics which is not available in Switzerland, I would say, or it's what known in Switzerland, then of course we are happy to involve you. And then we find a solution to get this funding from a more European or international funding agency. So because that is afterwards, of course, a task to find the appropriate funding.
Thank you very much. That sounds like a doable thing, which is very positive. A quick question also for my understanding, but certainly for the audience in order to understand the Swiss ecosystem better. Where do you and Digital Switzerland fit together? Do you complement each other? How does, what is it that you offer in relation to Digital Switzerland, just so that our audience understands the ecosystem? Yeah.
I believe we are more on the road level, I would say. So the Digital Switzerland is of course more the strategic level. So all the C's level is there together. They are discussing with politicians. So we are more on the concrete innovation project level. Of course, we are collaborating. We have also a booth at the Digital Day, which was mentioned before, with some specific topics or some of our members which developed solutions in our network. They are presenting it there. And so we are somehow on two different levels.
Right. So you would say that you're on a much more sort of applied research, business-driven innovation level. So
yes.
Yes. I understand. Thank you very much. And that is a very important piece of information in general for our audience. Okay. So moving right along to another topic that is central to the whole digitalization enterprise, and that is the question of privacy and data security. We are delighted to have with us Maria Winkler, who is a data protection expert from the Swiss Association for Quality and Management Systems. She will talk to us about Swiss data protection legislation in Switzerland, the certification of systems and organizations which process personal data. The floor is yours.
Thanks a lot. I will share my presentation. Thanks a lot for your invitation and for the introduction. In the next 15 minutes, I will give you some information about the revision of the Swiss Federal Act of Data Protection and the possibilities for the certification, data protection certification in Switzerland. And I do hope that this information will be helpful, especially for Russian IT companies which want to enter into the Swiss market. So let's start with the revision of the Swiss Federal Act of Data Protection. And first of all, I want to give you some information about the status of the activities of the revision of the FADP. Whereas the revision of the FADP itself is finished, it still won't enter into force before the start of 2023. The reason is because the two ordinances to this FADP are currently still being revised. And these ordinances will contain implementing and supplementary provisions to the FADP. The aim of the revision of the FADP was to adapt it to the data protection provisions of the European Union, the GDPR, and to modernize the Swiss data protection law and to strengthen the subject's rights. Therefore, many of the rights and obligations of the GDPR have been adopted to the revised FADB. Maybe some of the Russian IT companies that are attending this webinar, maybe they are informed about the GDPR provisions. For those companies, it may be interesting that the company that is GDPR compliant will in large parts also be compliant by the revised FADB. If you want to have more information about the revision, I gave you this link about the guidelines that the Federal Data Protection and Information Commissioner has published on his website. The next slide shows you some provisions that are especially interesting for foreign service providers. According to the Swiss data protection law, a company that outsources the processing of personal data to a service provider is called the controller, because it is the one who controls the processing and still has to control the processing of data, of personal data, even if it outsources it to a service provider, and the service provider is called the processor. I highlighted some of the very important topics here in this slide. In my opinion, it is especially important to know that the controller will have extensive control and audit rights, and therefore the controller will insist on a written data protection agreement, ensuring that the processor only processes data according to the controller's instruction. And when outsourcing the processing of personal data to a service provider leads to the transfer of this personal data to a foreign country, it is important to know that according to Swiss data protection law, personal data may only be transferred to a country with an adequate level of data protection. According to Swiss data protection law and the GDPR, Russia is not considered a country with an adequate level of data protection, and therefore, when transferring data to Russia, Swiss controllers will insist to so-called additional measures to ensure the security of the transfer data. And one example for an additional measure is the closing of the so-called standard contractual clauses of the European Commission. This means that Swiss company which outsources the processing of personal data to a Russian IT service provider which processes the personal data in Russia will be forced to close additional contracts such as these standard contractual clauses with the Russian IT provider. It is also very important to mention that according to Swiss data protection law, both the controller and the processor have to ensure data security by means of appropriate organizational and technical measures. And the aim is to protect data from unauthorized access and processing. The data processing must be set up in such a way that data protection principles are systematically complied with. The data protection law in Switzerland calls it privacy by design. This shows you that the controller, the Swiss company, which outsources the processing of personal data to a foreign service provider, will still be liable for the processing of the personal data by the foreign provider. And thus there are the agreements that will be closed are very important, and it will be important that the controller will still be able to control the processing of the personal data by the foreign service provider. And here the certification of or the possibilities and the certification of systems and programs may be helpful. Thus, I give you a short overview of the possibilities of data protection certifications in Swiss law. First of all, I want to mention that the obtaining of a data protection certificate in Switzerland is only with some exceptions, only optional in Switzerland. This will not change with the coming into force of the revised FADP, and therefore having a certificate is not legally required for entering into the Swiss market, but however, the certification of data protection management systems is still widespread. So clients often require their service providers to have a data protection certificate if they transfer personal data to a service provider. Because this helps them to control the service provider by this certification. There are two specific Swiss data protection certifications. The one is the Ordinance on Data Protection Certification, the DPCO, and the so-called Good Privacy Seal of Data Protection Quality. And in the next slides, I want to introduce them to you. First of all, the Ordinance on Data Protection Certification. This certificate can be obtained by all organizations, companies, institutions, and public authorities which process personal data as defined by the data protection legislation. This is the national, the certificate with the national recognition. It is valid for 3 years with annual audits, and it is based on the ISO EEC norm 27001. The DPCO will also be revised. A draft is not been published yet. The subject matter of the assessment are data protection management systems. And these data protection management systems contain a data protection policy, a documentation on objectives and measures relating to data protection and data security, and organizational and technical measures. In the DPCO is stated that also products could be certificated according to this ordinance, but these provisions have never been put into practice yet. The Good Privacy Seal is a registered quality guarantee mark, which is held by the Swiss Association of Quality and Management Systems, the SQS. This certificate can also be obtained by all organizations which process personal data as defined by the Swiss data protection legislation. This certificate is internationally recognized and is valid for 3 years with annual audits. Also, here the subject matter is or are data protection management systems, and it is awarded for exemplary data protection practices and the associated high standards of information security. There are still additional certifications in the field of data protection and information security, and the following overview gives you some information which certifications may be helpful. As I mentioned before, the reason why many companies which outsource the processing of personal data to IT companies and to foreign IT companies is that they are legally forced to still be able to control the processor, the provider, and a certification will help them to show that they are able to control the provider. According to the due data protection certifications, I additionally want to mention that there are some differences between the two data protection certifications, whereas the DPCO is only based on Swiss data protection law. The good privacy sealed not just mentions the Swiss data protection law. It is so you can also reach this certificate when you are not a Swiss company, which is bound by Swiss law. And therefore it is more internationally recognized. The ordinance of data protection certification is based on the ISO EEC 7001, and therefore here is a very strong, there is the part of the information security is more important than in the certification with the good privacy seal. I hope I could give you a short overview about the status of the Swiss data protection law and the possibilities and the importance and the meaning of the certifications of relating to data protection and information security. And I want to thank you for your attention, and I will answer a few questions if there are some.
Thank you very much, Maria Winkler. That was a very, I think, good summary of the certification that is required for foreign companies, in this case, Russian companies, to manage data from Switzerland. Am I correct? I do not see any questions from the audience, so I will permit myself yet another question, which is, am I correct in my understanding that one can get the Data Protection Certificate Ordinance, DPCO, and the Good Privacy Seal of Data Protection from your organization, the Swiss Association for Quality and Management Systems. Is
Yes.
that correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
And what about the other the certificates that you mentioned, the ISO IEC 27001 and 27701 and so forth? Correct, those ones.
Yes.
Do you offer that as well?
Yes, that's correct. The SQS offers those certifications, yes.
And what is the procedure really to getting them, and how long does it last?
It's very difficult. It's a very difficult question because all those certifications, they certificate data or information security system management systems. So the question, how long does it get to get this certificate, depends on how many, depends on all those work you have to do to implement this these management systems. I think most of the companies I know needed about half a year or a year if to be ready for the certification.
Okay, okay. So that pretty much answers it, and it's also that all the required documentation and processes will be clearly delineated by your organization. Thank you. Once a company is certified in terms of data protection, is that like, how foolproof is that? I mean, what kind of, does that cover every loophole? Probably not. To what degree is the data secure with that level of certification?
As I mentioned, there are, it is not a compliance certification. The certification is about the management system. So it is, the certification shows that you have a system that you are systematically able to comply with the provisions. But it does not guarantee that there are that you are compliant in each provision of the Swiss data protection law.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Thank you. I do have a question from a member of the audience. Yes. Alexei Trefilov from Elma asks, do you have some kind of framework that we could use, that their company could use to self-check before they start to work with you? And what he means by that are some common cases that could be verified as indicators for security and other kinds of certification.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yes, of course. First of all, if it's the DPCO, that is the ISO 27001, that's the framework you have to comply with. And according to the Good Privacy Seal, there is a regulation that the SQS hands out.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Alexei? You said thanks. I assume it does.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, well, I have to say, I'm not a great time manager, so I'm actually quite amazed that we've really hit the schedule pretty much almost precisely. I want to thank you again, Maria, for your very informative and useful presentation. I've certainly learned a lot from it. So at this point, if there are no further questions, I would like to thank all our speakers from this morning's session on the Swiss digital ecosystem. To welcome you to the business webinar, Digitalization, New Opportunities for Russian Swiss Business business cooperation. My name is Dorit Salas. I'm the Managing Director of the Joint Chamber of Commerce, Switzerland, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, South Caucasus. We are headquartered in Zurich with representation throughout Switzerland. We also have a Russia chapter, so Russia is a very big and important market for us. We are delighted to co-partner with the Trade Mission of the Russia Federation in Switzerland under the auspices of Ministry of Industry and Trade of Russia. So in the first part of today's webinar, we had a representative of the digital sector in Switzerland talking about the Swiss digital ecosystem and opportunities for Russian companies. And now it gives me great pleasure to swing the focus to Russia and learn more about what Russian companies and Russian organizations have to say about the digital opportunities and the digital services that are available. So without further ado, I invite Valentin Makarov, President of the RUSSOFT Association, to talk to us about the Russian software industry, strengths and innovation potential.
Yes, thanks. Guten Abend, Damen und Herren. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Дорогие друзья, добрый день.
Добрый день.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm very pleased to be one time more together with Switzerland. First time we have been in a business mission 5 years ago like that with support of Russian venture company. And I've seen in the list of today's visitors, Gimitan, Monsieur Gimitan. I keep his book in my room to think how he sees the history of 1,000 years of Russia, etc. So my speech is about Russian industry, and I represent RUSSOFT Association is my presentation. So RUSSOFT is an association of software companies, and we have been born in St. Petersburg, a very symbolic date, 9/9/99, so very bound to success. Now we have 247 IT companies covering all Russia. Practically St. Petersburg, Moscow are two major cities, but also from far east of Russia, Siberia, Ural, Volga region, North Russia, south of Russia, everywhere there are our companies. So we keep in touch on the temperature of all the territory of Russian Federation. What we do, primarily we do the study, a survey of our industry. We do it 18 years long and publish every year our report of this survey on our website. So you can easily find all this information for 18 years already. We are co-founder for Cyber Physical Systems Committee number 194 of ROS standards. So we know what means standard. We know how to follow that, and we strictly follow the rules of standardization. So following the presentation of a lady who is describing the situation of standardization in Switzerland, we are sure to follow the rules, absolutely. We have good cooperation with foreign countries. First was Bitkom in Germany, very, very long ago. And then we got in cooperation with India, NASCOM, China, Chinasoft, Korea, South Korean Business Council, etc. We have offices with our partners and RUSSOFT members in Netherlands, in The Hague, in Italy, in New Delhi. Also, we have an official representative in Turkey. We are working very closely with the government. We are participating in different working groups and committees, Russian ministries and state funds like Fund of IT Development Fund. And we are very active lobbyists of our interests for the industry and the government. Our main achievement is this package of measures supporting IT industry issued a year ago, supported by the President of Russian Federation, where we got fantastic conditions for business, having social taxes coming down to 7.6% and tax on profit down to 3%. So probably I would say that in the present circumstances, the situation for developing business in Russia and software development is probably the best in the world. But what we do, our companies were working in a very large areas of activities. And I can mention all these things like artificial intelligence, big data, machine learning, virtual reality, blockchain, industrial Internet of Things, etc. Our main aim from the very beginning was working for the global market, where Russian market is a part of the global market. So we are very interested in working outside of Russia. We have huge experience in doing that. And Switzerland probably was one of the first countries where we began to sell our services of software development and software engineering. I'm very happy to see that by the time there were no barriers for the cooperation. And even now, I'm sure in Switzerland, we have probably the best interpersonal relations, which allow us to continue cooperation with companies in Switzerland, companies and state bodies in Switzerland. What we do, we not only offer software and services, now we are more and more offering platforms, ICT platforms, which may compete with biggest platforms produced by Chinese, American, or European producers. So it is already something more ready for the new technological setup, which is coming up now. Some facts about what we are in the global market. You see here a list of Russian companies which are in the rating of best 100 best software outsourcing companies produced by International Association of Outsourcing Professionals. So you see 6 companies now, and every year we have 6, 7, 8 companies in this rating, which proves that Russia's software outsourcing companies, which make software development, particularly software engineering, have very strong position in the global market. You see our eager first-line software, they are here on the list for 15, like that, yes. So a long time ago, they had been already in this rating, and now newcomers are coming. ICL services from Kazan, Simbersoft, from Ulyanovsk, they are coming to this list, and we add our list of companies. In the list, there is now Intercom, Arcadia, or other companies, Data Art, Mera, etc. But they used to be there in the list, and we are sure to come back. Next is a list of Russian companies which are members of so-called Gartner Magic Quadrants. It's only last 5-6 years. You see what particularly where the areas where it's very strong is in information security or cyber security. So during last 3 or 4 years, 5 companies from Russia added Gartner Magic Quadrants related to information security. That means that we are probably one of 3 world leaders, competitors in the field of cybersecurity compared to China, America, Britain. So we, in these 3 or 4 countries, the most strong partners. Next is our success in the SCM. Now it is not SCM, it is National Collegial Programming Contest, which is covering thousands of universities from all over the world every year, coming to the semifinals and finals and competing for the best position in the field of software engineering, software development in the world. You see, during the last 9 years, no one country is able to come on the list of world champions. 3-4 medals out of 12, which are usually being ordered in this competition, are always Russians. And this year we have 3 gold medals of 4. And surely world champions also here from Nizhny Novgorod. So that means that not only St. Petersburg or Moscow world champions, but Saratov, now Nizhny Novgorod, Ural region, Siberia, everywhere we have universities which produce best developers in the world. Before 2000, all these winners were leaving the country, but since 2020, practically all of them are being kept in Russia because we have now rather big companies which are able to provide them with the big tasks, because these guys, students, they are not coming to the money. What they're interested in is to solve unsolvable problems. It's our specialty, and we keep it. And because of this ability to solve these unsolved problems, we still keep good positions in the rating of quality of developers. Here is another rating of HackerRank. It is dated 2017, but I'm pretty sure the same result will be even tomorrow, today, yesterday. HackerRank is measuring the quality of developers while making survey over American managers of companies in Silicon Valley, asking them which developers are the best in the world. And you see practically two countries are dominating the list, China and Russia, with the same result. And then later on, you see Poland, Hungary, Japan, Taiwan, so Far East, Eastern Europe, and Western Europe. I'm very proud Switzerland is here, and we know why, because you have fantastically good high schools. And ETH is our partner, and many Russian guys are coming to Switzerland. And I know personally several persons who have been trained in ETH, or now they are working or making training education in Zurich, and we have very good connection with them. I personally was in personal relations with some of these professors of ETH in Zurich, so I know the quality of this high school. So all these things about the general figures. Now just some words about the results of our latest study, which produced in June, July, August. So you see it's our data of our overseas sales. It means export, so sales from Russia, and also sales from our business offices situated everywhere in the world. So you see we're growing all the time. Average growth rate is 12-13%. The year 2020 was not that happy because pandemic time, etc. Our growth was only 5% or 4.5%, not so high as it usually. But we expect 2021 to return back to 12-14% growth rate of export of our overseas sales. You see there was a drop in 2019 because several Russian companies lost Russian jurisdiction. They were sold, and that's why we cannot anymore consider them as Russian companies, but still they have very important offices in Russia, having several thousand people working in the country, producing software and offering services, software development. Concerning COVID impact on the Russian software industry, you see in our survey, we asked companies what was the impact of the COVID over your business, and you see 2/3 of the companies said negative. Slightly negative, negative, or very negative, still it is negative, and 1/3 say not negative, positive, and small part of companies, particularly in video conferences and e-trade, e-entertainment, all concerning distant things was growing, very fast growing. And now just several concrete figures about the industry in 2020. You see we have about 200,000 engineers, particularly engineers. All our developers are coming from universities. It is high education level. Among these 200,000 people working in the industry, about 10,000 are working not in Russia, but elsewhere, particularly Eastern Europe, Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, Hungary, etc. But a lot of them are working also in Britain, America, etc. So we are international, pure international. Our estimations with our export increased by 4.3%, or like 5%, to 7.3 billion, and the total sales of overseas sales, $8.6 billion. Total sales of Russia in rubles grew 16%, 0.5, a lot, and the same growth was in Russian market. So Russian market was growing very fast. It was very good, particularly good because measures of support of the industry were implemented by the government. And we were very happy to see that these tax incentives were provided to the industry, not for this year, for next year, but by law, they have no limited in time. So we can calculate to make our planning for the future without thinking over in 2 years or 3 years to stop this, etc. Now it is no time limit for these tax exceptions. Our major growth, as I said, is online services, anywhere, particularly entertainment and trade. It was fantastically growing. In terms of video conferences, you see now we have in RUSSOFT 5 Russian providers of video conferencing services. So a lot of them, and they were growing a lot, and they sell their services of video conferencing to the United States and to Europe. And Zoom is cloud solution, but we provide server solutions where you put your server inside of your company, protected, and you are fully protected in your video conferencing against any foreign party invasion. What is also important, that we expect in the next year growth of, as I said, 14 to 16% in our overseas sales. And you may easily compare it to the predictions and data provided by Gartner and IDC. Gartner was saying this market of AMC around Western Europe will come down by 6.5%. IDC was saying Russian IT market will come down by 40%, then said, no, 18%, then minus 4%. Now they say, no, this Russian software market was growing about 16%, as our calculation says. And also what is interesting, that now we are more and more provider of solutions and platforming solutions for cyber-physical systems, which means new technological setup, which is exactly the exchange, replacement of human being by artificial intelligence, by industrial Internet of Things, by cyber-physical systems where people are not involved in the decision making, because people is a little bit lazy, crazy, etc. Many things may come to the person. So eliminating this human factor, we increasing the level of quality of services we can produce. But at the same time, when you implement cyber-physical systems, what you need new higher level of security. That's why I came back to the data that our security companies are more and more acknowledged by Gartner as the world leaders. Proof, yes, we are ready to implement this security level, which is able to provide regulators in every country to let Russian technology be based on this security level. So security is a priority number one, and we keep it very, very closely. Thank you for your attention. It's my data, my personal data. You may easily apply and have more information from what we do. I'm very thankful to Joint Chamber of Commerce. It's for a second time you organize this event and you collect people from Switzerland to see what we are doing and how we work and what is our intentions. You know, my personal attitude to cooperation with Switzerland is extremely positive. Yesterday, I used to be in a big event with France. I think this closeness of cultures, Switzerland, France, Germany, will provide us an opportunity not only to speak about selling something from Russia to Switzerland or from Switzerland to Russia, but more to speak about cooperation, to create joint projects, joint platforms, to be competitive on the global market, on the Eurasian market, face to Chinese, Americans, big leaders. So together, Russia and Europe is exactly the place, is exactly the big force which can be worldly competitive. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Valentin Makarov, for those very uplifting and true words. I think joining forces only makes us stronger, separately and together. So definitely. I just want to ask, I see you're a very good audience. You've all muted your microphones, but if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat function and I will address them to the speakers. Right now, we're going to have a sort of a pitch, company pitches from Russia. And we will begin with a series of companies in software engineering and risk management. So it gives me great pleasure to invite First Line Software, represented by Vladimir Litashenko, who is the Senior Vice President, to tell us about your company briefly and to the point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. I will be quite short. I know that I have about 5 minutes. I hope you can see my slides. Basically, yeah, our company is quite, let's say, long time with RUSSOFT, and our founders are the ones who basically initiated RUSSOFT many years ago. And we are on this market as a team over 20 years. As a company, we established 10 years ago. you can see that basically Russian software engineering companies and our company basically is quite globally presented and oriented. Yeah, we have a lot of different projects all around the world, and a lot of them are in Europe. And as a software engineering company, we are focusing on different business areas because digital transformation is currently, let's say, like a main key focus of all of the companies around the world. Everybody who wants to be on track, who wants to be profitable, trying to digitalize their processes, and therefore they need software engineering, and they're coming to professional companies like First Line Software. A bit about the history. Yeah, we founded in 2009. Now we are about 800 people globally. Most of the team is sitting in Russia, in the European part of Russia. So it's St. Petersburg, Moscow, and Nizhny Novgorod. We also have engineering centers already in Eastern Europe, in Poland, and the Czech Republic. And as I said already, we have quite global presence in terms of our offices and, of course, in terms of our clients. Here is basically a group of our European leading team. Yeah, I'm the Senior Vice President responsible for EMEA regions. So Europe is a big part of my job. Of course, we do have our local sales and technical advisors team. And you can see here, for example, Marcus, who is based in Sweden. We don't have yet presence in Switzerland, but we are moving to that step by step. Now, additional to Sweden, we have UK, Germany, Netherlands. So maybe the next one country is Switzerland, for sure. And of course, yeah, our founder and basically our CEO of the company, who many years ago, as I said, initiated also with a group of people, RUSSOFT, Nick Funchikov. He is from everywhere, so he's traveling a lot. Here is our, let's say, global presence in terms of our clients and in terms of our offices. So in all continents, mostly we have projects, and everywhere, because IT industry has no borders at all, and it doesn't matter where your engineers are sitting or where your clients are sitting. You can manage a good projects if you have a high qualified engineers on board. We do have. As I said, we are providing quite broad, let's say, a list of services. So everything related to software engineering, including software development, testing, DevOps infrastructures, system analysis, product management, project management, development of huge data warehouses and data lakes, building a cloud infrastructure and cloud native solutions. Everything is covered by our team. We know how to do it. We did it many times for different projects in many aspects. Technologically wide, yeah, of course, we can do almost everything. The only thing we don't have on board is probably SAP consulting. All the rest is available, open source solution, Microsoft-based projects, and so on and so forth. I'm trying to be quick, so just to be the timing. Of course, yeah, as a global presented company, we are known in different awards. So like the Global Outsourcing 100 or Russian-based CNews top 100 companies. Of course, we are partnering with the top technological companies and in the cloud area, Microsoft Azure, AWS, in healthcare area like InterSystems platforms, in IoT area with Intel, in warehouse logistics, in basically education. We are partnering with different universities, and for example, in Netherlands, Leiden University is one of our partners. And of course, we are all the time members of RUSSOFT, and I'm personally responsible, additional to basically my main job. I'm responsible for export committee in RUSSOFT, so supporting our companies in RUSSOFT to work in different countries. The final story, this is our, let's say, first line software house, list of expertise. So additional to just software engineering knowledge, we have a couple of pillars focused on different business areas. So very important for our story, and everywhere is very important, is healthcare and life science digitalization. So we're doing a lot with healthcare institutes worldwide, in Europe and United States, working with real world evidence data, working with the patient data, building decision support systems, and so on and so forth. We are doing a lot of things in retail digitalization, especially now when with pandemic situation, a lot of people start using e-commerce online shopping solutions. So we are focusing quite well there and doing a lot of projects here. Of course, yeah, all related to content and content management and e-commerce part. And the big part in our team is everything related to data management, machine learning, artificial intelligence in different aspects and points of view. As a software engineering company, yeah, we are providing our services in different manners. So we can build software development teams, we can manage projects. For a lot of companies, we are supporting them with product engineering. So we're helping them to build their product from scratch. It's mainly as startups and ICT startups. So we are focusing on our clients. And as we are saying, we are basically big enough to manage and small enough to care. Thank you very much. Here are my contacts.
Thank you very much, Vladimir. That was short, sweet, and very much to the point. And of course, your presentation, if you and the other speakers give the green light, will be distributed. So people will have time to study the information. Moving right along, I would like to invite Search Inform, represented by Alexei Pinchuk, Chief Business Development Officer, to tell us about their company.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Please confirm that I'm audible.
You are audible. You are audible.
Thank you so much. Well, let's jump right into the presentation. I'll try to be real quick. I know I don't have enough time. My name is Alexei. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer for Search Inform. We are a software developing focusing on information security. Our main focus is insider threat management. Just to say a few words about the company. As you can see from the screen right here, we are over a quarter of a century in IT. As you can spot from the map, we are present in over 20 countries of the world. The orange marks here are our offices or representatives across the globe. These days, over 2 million PCs are guarded by our systems across the globe. We are members of the Gartner Magic Quadrant for DLP and have also been mentioned by several other analytical agencies. The reason why we decided to mainly focus on insider threat management is because international global statistics shows that over 70%, somewhere between 70 to 80% of all the risks of any business are actually coming from inside the company, not the outside risks. Anything that you can call cyber risks, be it hacker attacks or DDoS attacks or viruses, is usually considered to be traditionally somewhere between 20 to 30% of all risks of the company. Plus, the statistics shows that out of that 30%, somewhere between 40 to 50 out of them are also supported from the inside. That's why we strongly believe that is crucially important to have a tool set of software that could help you maintain the risks, be protected from all the possible risks, maintain proper ecosystem that would help you properly manage your business. As it was righteously mentioned by Maria previously, Switzerland makes a part of GDPR now and will be subject to comply with personal data protection legislation in Switzerland itself. A lot of our solutions are aiming at particularly helping the businesses and governmental institutions to comply with active local and international legislation, including personal data protection legislation. These days, we understand that the concept of information security is making a shift. Even the companies throughout the world, even the countries throughout the world who were not so much into it these days are changing the perception due to different reasons, starting from basic, let's say, commercial reasoning, continuing with the reasoning like, I don't know, fighting terrorism and stuff, and ending up with this pandemic reasonings where we have more and more employees working from home, and the reasons for having more control over sensitive information of the company and the other risks that could potentially face the company even when people used to work from the office. We all understand that in the circumstances when people are working from home, traditionally their productivity drops, traditionally their attentiveness drops, and therefore it may cause unprecedented levels of, let's say, unwanted disperse of sensitive information, which any company would not want to face at any times, and particularly at such times as we are facing right now, where most of the economies across the globe are facing a decline or stagnation due to the situation we all are in. So I will quickly tell you a few words about the products that we are offering to commercial entities and governmental institutions across the globe. They are a data leakage prevention tool, which is more or less a traditional tool set, allowing the company to have the controls over the means of data transfer, and having the tools of this data transfer channels protection. Risk Monitor is like an extended version of a DLP, which includes a number of instruments allowing for data at rest protection, evaluation of employee productivity, and so on and so forth. A great solution that we are now offering to the market is what we call the Profile Center. It's a solution that automatically generates psychological profiles of your employees. It's been a trend a few years back that large institutions would hire psychiatrists and psychologists on permanent basis to their companies for the purpose of evaluation of the internal situation in the company, of the environment people working, in order to ensure that the environment is best for their best performance. These days we have we introduce an automated tool which allows for better understanding of who your employees are, what are their values, what are their strong and weak points, and how well do they feel about working in the company. CM, which is an industry well-known term for information security event management systems, allowing to log all the activities with the hardware, software, and employee activity. Another great tool that I want to mention is File Auditor, which is a solution aiming particularly at compliance with active personal data protection legislation, allowing the companies to better understand where their data at rest resides, who has the access to this, so that sensitive files of the company, including those pertaining to personal data, and containing this kind of data therein. One more product. Yes, please.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. This is extremely interesting. Just for the, in terms of time, if we could just sort of move it along.
I'll wrap it up real quick.
You're wonderful. Thank you so
anyways,
much.
I've mentioned a few products that we are currently offering. I guess it's really important to have the controls of information security, and even more important during the times of working from home and working remotely. We are looking for partners across the globe, and we are looking to find partners in Switzerland to help us distribute the software and to help us build a common service based on them. Thank you so much for your attention. No more time that I'm taking out.
I apologize for that. This is a very intensive and dense program, but that was very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alexei. So and now I'd like to invite in Reco LAN, Sergei Piatigorsky, Chief Technology Officer.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity of presenting my company at such an important meeting. So my name is Sergei Piatigorsky. I'm the CTO of the Reco LAN company, and I know I have 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and I will fit. I will talk about rethinking our vision on business realities, about strengthening existing and establishing new partnerships. It seems that 2019 can be ignored as a turning point in the development of global business. What is happening now is not a return to the good old times, but the construction of new good times. In my opinion, we are moving from a demarcation-based fierce competition between businesses towards cooperation and interaction of powerful and independent companies. My company is one of the experienced players at the international software development market. We have been in the IT business for over 30 years. And since 1999, we have been working in the global software development market. We have implemented plenty of very interesting, innovative, and really challenging projects, which I am still proud of. For example, in 2003, right after the dot-com bubble, young American entrepreneurs ordered us a desktop application to organize the sale of used textbooks collected on a university campus. Just a small application. And previously, the textbooks were just thrown away. We did the job, and the result met all expectation. Our clients' business grew, and we continued to modify and expand the system. And in 7 years, the original desktop application has evolved into a full-fledged enterprise solution that was at that time top-ranked on Amazon.com and eBay.com. And we are still supporting the system. We have also implemented hundreds of projects in Russia, in particular in the field of e-commerce. The main difference from our international projects is that those we work on in Russia are most often subcontracted to us. In the late 90s and early 2000s, we competed with everyone, and all IT companies did the same. Now there is much more cooperation and interaction in the software development business. Now it is much more profitable not to strive to get every project for any price, but to use cooperation, relying on the advantages of each participant, whether it be geographical advantages or personnel advantages, or the advantages of specific competences, and so on. Software development companies in Russia have accumulated extensive experience in organizing and using such cooperation. My company is a member of the largest Russian IT association, РУССОФТ. Mr. Makarov has already told that the association unites many companies located in different cities and towns throughout Russia. These cities and towns differ significantly not only in geographic location, but also in industrial specialization and cost of living. It is a good chance to find a subcontractor with the necessary skills and the right price, especially given the lack of free IT specialists in the market. And this lack has been already mentioned by Zergerte Redner. It is essential to know that these opportunities of cooperation are secured by the РУССОФТ values. These values are trust, openness, and justice. If a large РУССОФТ member company working on some grandiose project hires a small or medium-sized subcontractor, also a member of the association, to perform certain tasks, both companies win. All the three values of РУССОФТ that I have just mentioned are significant. The parties trust each other. It is about doing good work for real money. The parties are open to each other. It is about not playing games. The parties are equal contracting parties. It is about fairness. And the conclusion suggests itself. Why not build bridges between Swiss and Russian IT associations in order to achieve greater unity based on trust, openness, and fairness? This will give member companies the opportunity to benefit from flexible cooperation and collaboration. As soon as we connect the Swiss and Russian associations, IT companies from both countries will be able to use a wide range of new options and opportunities, relying on many new capacities. From a practical point of view, a company that chooses a partner for a new project will be able to use a wide range of parameters. From those parameters, the company will determine fairly clear requirements, such as specific knowledge, narrow experience, preferred soft skills, cost advantages, and so on. So you see that my ideas are not the ideas of theorist or a dreamer. I think as an experienced practitioner in a very utilitarian style. And that's for now, thank you. And please do not hesitate to contact me. I will be happy to discuss the possibilities of cooperation. And here is contact information of my colleague, who is also available to discuss these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sergey. That was indeed something that we would like to promote ourselves. I mean, there is more strength in collaboration, and this, of course, is the purpose of today's webinar. And I very much hope that companies will reach out, and also the digital associations, as you suggest. Moving right along to AI and VR-based applications for different sectors, including healthcare, education, and industry, I would like to invite Botkin, Artificial Intelligence, represented by Yulia Gukina, Business Development Officer.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can. If you there you go. Right.
Great. So happy to be there. I would love to share the presentation, which was actually recently shown at the G20 Innovation League in Sorrento. This is one of the latest studies we had, and which is going to be officially published in Journal of Clinical Oncology. So it's basically scientifically verified data. Botkin AI is a teleradiology platform. We help to analyze medical imaging data using AI. The reason why we do this is, well, pretty simple. Already now, the shortage of radiologists around the world is around 20%. And on the annual basis, the growth is very slow in terms of number of professionals. So they basically grow around 2% annually. But the number of medical imaging studies grows in around 7.3%. So if we calculate correctly, in 5 years, the shortage of radiologists is going to reach 50%. This is going to increase the issue with the quality of the medical imaging analysis. Based on the latest results, almost 70% of the cases of the early oncology, for example, when it comes to lung cancer, remains missing. So basically, the small nodules on the first phase of cancer, they are missed. And this means that the whole prediction for the patient's treatment is worse than it could be. What we suggest and what we offer to the market is the population health solution, which looks first of all as an ecosystem, which helps to increase the efficiency of the radiology workflow and improve the quality control. So basically, we help to stop missing early cancer or other diseases which may severely influence the patient's health. Healthcare centers can simultaneously be the customers to our solutions or the providers when it comes to teleradiology services. If we take, for example, a territory where there is a shortage of radiologists, and we can take the data from the hardware after instrumental study is finished and provide the analysis by an experienced radiologist, which can actually live in another country. If we look at the figures, there are 200 million CT scans performed annually, and now this number has increased compared to, for example, 2019, thanks to COVID. So basically, the whole world now passed the lung cancer screening. The detection of lung cancer increased in our pilot projects more than 60%. This means that if annually in 2020, there were 2.2 million new lung cancer cases detected, at the same time, using our population health technology with the retrospective analysis, we are able to identify 3.5 million lung cancer cases. This means around over 1 million saved lives, especially if we consider that we are able to detect the lung cancer on the first stage, meaning that the patient outcome gonna be the most positive. Our company has provided CE mark. We received it last year. We're going to receive an FDA next year. Currently, we successfully work worldwide. We have projects in Europe, Africa, and South Africa, and Latam. One of the latest projects we completed was Brazil, where we had a double-blind study with very good results. One of our core partners globally is AstraZeneca. We provide for them the population health studies related to cancer, to lung cancer. We have already 2 rounds of investments. We raised over $2 million, and we are aiming to go to round C the next year. We also have a scientifically proven state-of-the-art result in the detection of the pulmonary nodules. Meaning that our precision 97.6% for the total data set. And here at the team, first of all, we have our, is it calculated, over 50 years of managerial experience for the management team, and also we are guided by a very strong scientific and medical team. Our head of our advisory board is Mr. Valentin Sinitsyn. He is world-recognized radiologist, and he used to be head of radiology, Worldwide Radiology Association. And also we have the consultancy team from different hospitals, including oncology centers and emergency hospitals, not only in Russia, but also in Latam. So here we are. I will be happy to answer the questions if you have some. We are currently looking for cooperation on the global market, especially in Europe, for retrospective analysis, for retrospective screening, and well, we'll be happy for any connections.
Thank you very much, Yulia. And now I'd like to invite Ina Bondareva, CEO of VR Medica, to tell us about the company. Okay.
Hello, one moment, please. I am sharing my screen. One moment. I am here.
Okay.
Virtual reality creates a new page in medical practice. What is the secret of the success of medical VR? And so I am Anna Bondria from Moscow, company Торговое, and VR Medica project Digital Health. And good day, Damen and Herren, good day, dear Dorit. Let me present my company and our project, Торговое Global in Digital Health. Medicine of the future. Please think about the medicine of the future for just 1 minute. What will be tomorrow? What technologies will be used? And what technology of medical education can be for the generation next? And next great question, how to educate future talented doctors? I think, and I am sure, very sure, it is VR learning. And our VR Medical for this, because we have 5 main secrets about VR Medica. Secret number 1, anytime, anywhere. Secret number 2, low price for educational VR program. Secret number 3, immersive experience and high speed educational program. The time it takes to train students is another key factor in evaluating training approaches. The faster students can complete training and return to the medical center to use their new skills, the faster medical center can get a return on their training investment. In this study, we are training students completed medical training an average of 4 times faster than classroom training students and 2 times faster than e-learning programs. That took 2 hours to learn in the classroom could be learning in only 10 minutes using VR. And last, very great secrets number 5, VR amazingly realistic, a new world in medicine practice and medicine education. Our main areas of research and development have 3 digital health focuses. Number 1, VR practical medicine. Number 2, VR learning. And number 3, VR rehabilitation. In our platform, VR Medica, we use artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep processing components to create new personalized high-level imaging programs and for new methods of non-pharmacological medical therapy, non-drugs, non-pharma, only new methods for medicine. In this we speak about cooperative, about collaborative new program, innovative program, and I want to invite partners for innovative collaboration with us, with our team, with our different countries where we work now. It is 4 offices involved. As Ms. Gundula said today morning, together we can faster. I absolutely agree with Ms. Gundula. Write to me. I will be happy to contact you. Let's make a VR project together. It's all. Thank you so much for attention for me and for my speech.
Thank you very much, Ina. Very interesting, very, very useful, I would say, for educational purposes and more. So moving right along, we have VR Concept represented by Kristina Nikolenko, marketing manager of the company.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So I hope that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my name is Kristina and I'm the marketing manager in VR Concept. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. The second desktop, I think it will be.
Okay, let's just wait a little longer. If not, we can move to the next presentation, come back to VR Concept. Yeah. Yaroslav?
Please go wider.
Let's continue. Okay, we'll get back to VR Concept. So we're moving to section 3 of the company presentations to Polymatica. And Polymatica will be represented by Natalia Yashenkova, who is the marketing director.
So I'm sorry, so may...
Hello?
Hello? Polymatica, Natalia, can you take the floor now, please?
Yes, of course. I'll share my screen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay. So can you see here?
Yes, we can see.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
So we we told a lot about data today already. And of course, we know that now companies collect a lot of data. What is important to understand that 80% of data ignored. Why so? We all are interested in KPIs because they are used to evaluate our work. But how quick can we investigate if something goes wrong? And how deep can we dig? And of course, if we arrange our data correctly, we can start using machine learning models. So I present Polymatica products. So they are Polymatica dashboards, Polymatica analytics, and Polymatica machine learning. So the first one is to create dashboards, the second to analyze and investigate data on detailed level, and the third is about machine learning. And I want to highlight two main advantages of our product. The first one is they all, even Polymatica machine learning, are oriented on business users. So you can use drag and drop. You can use self-service and without programming, create a dashboard, make ad hoc report on big data, or even create a machine learning model. So I would like to share about our recent projects. The first one is about biometrics. We helped a biometrics operator who created this service for banks to create a monitor system. Why it is important? Biometrics is a new trend. And of course, people are scared. They are not very confident about this service. And that is why for us, it was important to understand how to make it more convenient, to give them trust, and our monitor system helps them do it right. It's an open case. We share it with the operator, Rostelecom. So if you need details, I'm ready to share. The second project I would like to mention is Moscow Metro. So what you need to know about Moscow Metro, it is the sixth metro system in the world. So you can imagine how much data is proceeded there. That is why we use our own technology, which helps to work with a large volume of data, and as well it has GPU support. And our third product, Polymatica Model Learning, and it's a new product in our portfolio, but nonetheless, it's very promising because it helps them to create not only machine learning models, but as well manage their life cycle. So a few words about company. We have our 10 years sorry. Anniversary. So we have more than 40 clients all over the world, not only in Russia, but also in UK. For example, for ICS, we help to manage medical nurses' shifts to get a better result. And for example, Mary Kay and Burger King are also international projects. So a few words again about our advantages. We are oriented on business users, so our tools are very simple, and that makes a huge opportunity for partnership because our tools are very easy to implement and support. So please, if you have any questions, if you are interested in partnership, please let me know. I'm ready to communicate. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Very interesting. And thank you so much for that, Natalia. We will go back now to VR Concept, Kristina Nikolaenko, Marketing Manager.
So attempt number 2, I think, will be successful. I hope so.
We can see you.
Yes, thank you very much. So my name is Kristen and I'm the marketing manager in the VR concept. And the VR concept, so while creating any technical product, the work is usually carried out with 3D drawing. And that type of work takes place on an ordinary flat screens, and that does not allow to fully realize the possibilities and opportunities of 3D modeling. And here we come. The VR concept is a universal software that allows to input customers' 3D model directly to the virtual reality. It can be in CD format, on a building information modeling format. In any case, this is just a 3D model that implemented directly to the VR. And you can organize a collaboration work with your colleagues, partners, and customers from all parts of the planet. And the most important fact that it doesn't require any programming skills. So the VR concept helps to create a virtual prototype and make communications and trainings more effective. And also it makes it easier to improve quality and ergonomics of the design product, and at the same time cut the budget for business trips and real size mock-up buildings. Some words about sales and our distribution network. We supplied by our partners, and we develop our distribution network with the system integrators and consulting companies and resellers. To start work into virtual reality, you just need the VR headset, VR ready PC, and of course our software, the VR concept. We have more than 30 customers in Europe, Russia, and Asia. And I think that that's the most important slide I would like to tell you about is our use cases. The first one is the construction case. Is the Gazprom Neft. They used our software for collaboration meetings, and they expand these practices to their subsidiaries also. And our solution renders their big models without any breaks. And it's really important because our engine is optimized for this kind of the big size models. In engineering industry, it's scenario transport machines. They produce the locomotives, and also they use our software for collaborative meetings and for demonstration to their customers, and their engineering also use our software to analyze the current status of the project and its ergonomics. And education sphere, we are really well developed during this confinement and COVID period in this sphere. And as an example, in education area, the Belgrade State Universities use our software in education process, and some local consulting companies also use it in construction. So some words about the competitors. The most important fact is the integration time. As you can see with VR concept, you can just start directly working in the virtual reality just in 2 minutes with wide prototyping of the virtual prototyping functionality. So our founders have more than 15 years experience, and our team contains 20 employees. I think that that's all. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you very much, Natalia and Christina. Forgive me, Christina.
It's okay. It's Russian names. It's okay.
I very much appreciate that. Very interesting service offering you have for sure. And now we will go to the final company that will make a pitch, and that is Elma and CEO Alexei Trefilov.
Hello, could you see my screen?
Yes, thank you. But yes, perfect.
Perfect. Yes. Oh, 1 second. Some troubles. Excuse me. Yes. Nowadays, in order to stay competitive, business has to have strong IT and high level of automation. And it's not only the rule of the market, but the basement to survive with market changes. And 2020 showed us that changes could be critical for many businesses. And in 2021, every company would like to hire developers to create business applications. And applications development is still slow, expensive, and risky. And I believe that especially in Switzerland and the whole DACH region, where the level of salaries is really high, it's really important. But there is a solution. And within the last 13 years, we helped other companies to work more productive. We developed low-code platform that disrupt the whole application development process. Elma 365 is a simple but very powerful constructor. Analysts and business users could participate in the process of business application creation, as well as developers could create business applications faster than in usual way. You could create enterprise solutions, building them from ready-to-use bricks. Just drag and drop them with your mouse, working with keyboard. And if you don't have some ready-to-use blocks, for example, to integrate your legacy system with an accounting system, you could create them any moment. So system doesn't limit you with that. And our system unites employees with robots and artificial intelligence. That helps to reduce amount of manual work, speed up documents processing, and reduce amount of mistakes on every step. And Elma is a pretty big name in Russia. We are leading technology for business automation. We help more than 2,000 enterprises from 30 countries. In fact, we have some clients in DACH region as well. Not many yet, but we're working on that. And right now, we're developing our European presence. As I said above, we work with DHL, KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Boehringer Ingelheim, pretty difficult name, yes, GlaxoSmithKline, etc., and many others. There is a map of our products. Elma is not only about business processes and low-code applications. We will provide tools to automate documents processing, sales, and CRM, project management, etc. And in fact, there is one of our main advantages. Elma is a really comprehensive solution. We could offer way more than our competitors, but our advantage is outstanding implementation speed. While our competitors spend months and weeks to provide some result, with Elma, it could take weeks and days, and it's really like that. Elma is really easy tool to start. Even the person who are pretty far from IT could create solutions and enter building applications. I believe that this presentation will be available after my speech, so you could find a few examples of our projects. There are a lot of them that we could send by request. We have a lot of projects in our portfolio from public sector. We implemented really big projects in Russia and in European Union as well, but most amount of our projects from real business. And there is just one of example from banking. It's analyst-driven implementation in a really huge Azerbaijan bank. We help them to speed up their business processes in a few times, as you could see on the picture, and reduce costs in 13 times. So it's really worth doing. So I told that Elma has more than 13 years of experience, but at the same time, we are quite modern solution. Right now, we use 4th generation of our product based on the least technologies, and it's extremely modern, Microsoft based, and it's all about fault tolerance, easy scalable, easy to be scaled, etc. So let's summarize. Elma today is more than 10 years of experience in business automation. It's stable and growing business based on the modern technologies. So right now we're really interested in working with local companies in Switzerland, in DACH region, and Europe is just pretty close to us. So we're searching for promising companies who are interested in collaboration and building mutually beneficial collaborations. So I really believe that Elma could be useful for Switzerland because we could provide the tool for building modern solution without high cost developers on the place. And it's really important nowadays because we should be, we should create future today, something like that. thanks for your attention. If you have some questions, I will be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much, Alexei Trefilov. Elmer's systems looks like just the thing that I need, being a novice in all digital and IT matters. And I think what's very, very welcome is its user-friendliness, the simplicity of the technology for the end user. So thank you for that. Thank you. Now we have finished with our company pitches and we're returning to the issue of cooperation. We understand that this is probably the way of the future for both our countries, with lots of expertise and know-how to share. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome Anna Bezlepkina, who's the head of international projects in the Department of International Cooperation of Skолково Innovation Center to talk on this matter. Anna, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear Dorit. Good afternoon, dear colleagues and participants of this business mission. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to talk. It's a real pleasure to see many friends and colleagues with whom we have communicated and cooperated. So I'll give a brief overview of what Skолково is and what opportunities we could offer to our international partners in Switzerland. Just to introduce, so what Skолково is. We are an innovation ecosystem. We are a physical ecosystem, a physical place with 400 hectares of land, with a technopark, a university, secondary school and kindergarten, and several corporate R&D centers. But we also are an ecosystem, a virtual ecosystem of innovations that unites over 3,000 tech companies across Russia. And these companies are really the core of our community. And some of the companies that have presented today also happen to be residents of Skолково, which gives me great pleasure to see them here. So usually we highlight 4 elements of Skолково innovation ecosystem. So startups, but also industrial partners, of course, university and scientific field is very important because it's where all the tech innovation comes from. And R&D centers, as I mentioned, that we have over 60 R&D centers here in Skолково, and of course VCs. Virtual capital is very important because you cannot it's very difficult to innovate without support of VCs. So companies that are part of Skолково really encompass all kinds of technologies and verticals. They cover everything from fintech and retail to agriculture to UAVs and autonomous driving and pharma innovations. So really everything you can think of, we have among our resident companies. Skолково provides support measures to the companies that are part of the ecosystem. And these vary, so there are financial measures such as tax and custom benefits and financial support in the form of grant financing and help with VC investment attraction. But there also is a number of non-financial support. And of course, residents of Skолково can be housed in the technopark that we have. You can get a glimpse of it on the left side of my presentation. It's just a very small part of the building where we have overall in the Skолково technopark, we have about 400 startups. There's, of course, professional services. There are centers of collective use that are available to companies and everything you can think of. Skolkovo is, from the very first day, was an international project. And today we are very proud that over 450 companies from our ecosystem are active internationally. So they do sales abroad. They have partnerships in different countries. And some of the top destinations where our companies choose to go are, of course, major markets globally, such as United States, Germany, UK, Switzerland, as you can see, is also one of top destinations for our country, for our startups. We also have international partners, such as corporate partners, but also institutional partners, innovation support agencies, different organizations that promote startups. And we also are placing now a particular emphasis on working with foreign tech startups. And we have a special program for them where we help them soft land in Skолково. Skолково has the main office is, of course, is located in Moscow, but we also have a small representative office in China, in Beijing, with 2 employees, and they help our companies expand into the, of course, Asian markets, and first of all, into China. On this slide, I just listed, you know, the most common formats for cooperation that we can offer to different types of partners. And one of the most common is technology scouting, because we have such an extensive base of startups, and we know very well what kind of technologies they develop. So we can offer corporate partners help in finding tech solutions according to their needs. Like I mentioned, we have for international startups, we have soft landing program. Of course, we have events, and many of our partners participate in 2 of our major events, and I will talk about them just shortly. On investment side, there's an opportunity to work with our investment arm, which is called Skолково Ventures. Skoltech University performs contract research for different companies, including international companies, and they, of course, have extensive university-to-university collaboration in different fields. So just a few words about each of these formats. So tech scouting is usually takes the form of a corporate acceleration program, where we work with an international company that has some specific tech requests, and they come to us, and we identify the best way to solve their tech needs. We have already implemented over 40 corporate programs with different companies such as AstraZeneca, Visa, Bayer, Huawei, Sanofi, and many Russian, of course, companies are also clients of ours. And over 60 startups, not all of them, by the way, are from Skолково, but over 60 have obtained opportunities for implementing their technology in these corporate partners. Our 2 major events that are open to all our international guests, and these days, of course, they happen in a hybrid format, both online and offline. Startup Village is a startup festival that usually takes place in the spring, late spring or beginning of June. And it's a place for startups to meet with investors, with their peer startup companies, to discuss possibilities for cooperation. We have formats that are specifically created for small companies that are affordable, that can help them just present themselves through either a competition, a pitch competition, or an exhibition. The second major event is going to happen actually in December this year, and it's called Nobel Vision Open Innovations 2.0. It's a one-day forum that will bring together several Nobel laureates and big corporates and government as well to discuss how science is important in our everyday life and in sort of implementing and pushing innovations forward. So again, it will be also happening online. I think online registration is free, so all our friends and colleagues from Switzerland are welcome to register and join. R&D, we have over 60 R&D centers on the territory of Skолково, and this of course is a very serious format of partnership. We have several international companies, Boeing, American aircraft producer is one of them. There's also German company Phoenix Contact, Fanuc, which is a Japanese robotics company, all they built, actually constructed their own R&D centers here in Skолково. Overall, this is just a representation of our international partners, and we have over 150 of industrial partners, and that number includes both Russian companies and international. The soft landing program. So if we talk about opportunities for smaller companies, for startups or scale-ups that are looking into expanding into the Russian market, we have a program that these days is also run fully online, and it's a 1-week program to help companies get initial information about Russia, about the Russian market, and of course about Skолково. So companies get a chance to hear information on specific industrial sectors, on how they can, whether there are prospects actually for them. There's usually a pitch session of participants where Skолково experts give them feedback on their prospects in the Russian market. And of course, we explain how companies can progress in Skолково. I understand that I have to finish my presentation. I just had one final slide. Yes, this is a brief summary of our cooperation with Swiss partners. So as you can see, we have an industrial partner, which is a Sulzer Swiss company that has established an R&D center here. We've had some companies from Switzerland that joined Skолково soft landing program. Imogen Pay, for example, is one of them, a fintech startup. Last year in October, together with the Joint Chamber of Commerce and the Union of Chambers of Commerce of Switzerland and the Embassy of Switzerland in Russia, we organized an online business mission to Switzerland that was on the topic of artificial intelligence. And just recently, last month in September, together with Innovo and Applied Machine Learning Days, which is a project at APFL, we organized a webinar about digital health where 4 our startups presented their projects to Swiss experts from venture capital, from science and corporate world. So with this, I leave my contact information here. Would be happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna, for a very interesting presentation. And clearly, Skолково has been very creative in opening many doors for cooperation, even for setting up companies in Russia with a soft landing. And I think that is extremely valuable for startups, especially that want to enter the Russian market. So thank you very much for that. So we were in Russia, we're going back to Switzerland now, and the subject of e-commerce, which I think is stating the obvious, is now really accelerated following the pandemic. Patrick Kessler, director of the Handelsverband Switzerland, will talk about cooperation opportunities for Russian IT companies in the area of e-commerce in Switzerland.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be with you at this webinar. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. If you can just put it, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. If there should be a sound in the background, I'm far away from Switzerland right now, and just tell me if the sound is not okay. I will move to another room then.
So far, so good.
First of all, I would like to present in some words who we are, what we do, what our association is about. We have been in touch with the Russian Trade Mission, especially about questions how to get into Switzerland, how to get merchandise into Switzerland with custom questions, VAT questions, etc. So our association is mainly focusing on business, doing business in Switzerland, e-commerce in Switzerland. What do we represent? We represent about 20 billion Swiss francs turnover a year. Seems to be not too much probably for a Russian dimension, but in Switzerland, we reflect about 1/5 of total retail sales turnover with our association. What's special about our association is that we have about 50% online share of this turnover. So we represent 60 to 70% of e-commerce companies within Switzerland, doing business within Switzerland. But as probably in Russia as well, we have the omni-channel trend. So we also have the traditional business, retail business, which is reflected by our members. How many members do we count? So we have about 380 merchants who run, again, about 400 online shops. They send about 85 million parcels a year, which is about 45% of the total volume in Switzerland. We have members being active in B2C, B2B, D2C. Most of them are B2C companies, but we also have the major B2B business being member of our association. What is our claim? We come from a world where I represented just the online business, so the channel separated online business. But nowadays we say it's just commerce. It doesn't matter where the turnover comes from, whether it's online or traditional, it doesn't matter. You have to have the turnover in the company. That's why we say it's just commerce. Coming to the point, what are opportunities and challenges, let's say, out of Russia into Switzerland, outside in? And I'm sure you heard already this morning what the problems or the challenges are we have in Switzerland. I want to stress that out a little bit more in detail. Programming developer capacities in Switzerland. I want to talk about labor cost differences for routine jobs. We just heard it from Elma, what problems or the challenges could be. And I think there are opportunities for IT companies out of Russia doing business in Switzerland. And on the other hand, we have the inside-out perspective. I'm convinced as a representative of retail, of brands, of D2C companies, the Swiss-made products, they have a huge potential thanks to the internet, thanks to the online shopping trend all over the world. So the first challenge we met all the time, again and again, is the lack of developer capacities. And probably you heard this morning already from Diana, we have the Google European headquarters in Zurich. So this headquarter is working with about close to 5,000 employees meanwhile, and they are, let's say, drying out the market in Switzerland for developers. Of course, not just Swiss developers, but also international developers love to work for Google in Zurich, and that dries out our market significantly. Then we have a blockchain fintech hub in Zug in central Switzerland. We have the pharma cluster in Basel. We have a university which was mentioned already in the presentations before, which is basically a tech spin-off machine, and they're, let's say, employing their own students again for the future projects, and at the end, if everything goes well, there will be a spin-off at the end of the day. And that's more than the traditional work. I don't know how long it will last. The banks and insurance cluster around Zurich, more traditional issue, but still going strong right now. We don't know where it's going to. That's why we are happy about to have a fintech hub in Zug, in central Switzerland area as well. So all over these arguments, what's the result? The result is really a lack of developers in Switzerland. Even so, Swiss university and Swiss regions like the eastern part of Switzerland, like the western part of Switzerland, they're trying to launch new products to get more people learning to develop, studying IT, business, etc. There will be probably still a lack of developers in Switzerland. The talent hunting is really, really challenging, and it has become normal that you don't find anybody for your job because the market is dry. So nearshoring as an option for e-commerce merchants has become an opportunity for companies working out of other countries into Switzerland. It's for you important to know about how Swiss e-shops are working and what shop software they are using mostly. So the first one still is Magento, which I saw on some presentations already. Shopware, which is a German product, which is very important in Switzerland as well. I don't know whether there is know-how around in your IT companies. Then, of course, Shopify is developing strongly. And after all, for the small and middle enterprises, the WooCommerce is very popular in Switzerland as well. Further on, the mobile development cluster, app, web apps, etc., is rather not inexisting, but I think most of these developments are really outsourced to agencies, nearshored to agency specialists, not really working on site in Switzerland. What's the opportunity for you? I mean, we had the discussion before I did this presentation. I don't think that you will be successful just to approach companies in Switzerland. I think more important is to link in with agencies within Switzerland or Germany, which do really active nearshoring, which already are experienced in, let's say, fishing in the honeypot Switzerland, getting jobs done in Germany or in Poland or in Czechia, etc. So I think link in with these agencies, because all these agencies are lacking of developer know-how as well and are looking for nearshoring opportunities. Then second point is, as we saw before, every company has its special core competencies. I think you should be clear about what your honeypot could attract attention from the agencies, and B, then later on from the companies. What is your special software you deal with? Do you have special features, add-ons you could throw into the discussions? And last but not least, every Swiss company is always looking to Germany or sometimes to Austria, what's going on there, because most of them are German speaking. And that's why these markets are very interesting for Swiss companies. So if you have any reference objects in Germany, that could be very helpful for you. For the Western part of Switzerland, French, it could also be the French, France as a country, as a reference case. But at the end of the day, 2/3 of Swiss people speaking German, so that's the major market for you. Then, second point is to challenge labor costs, and it doesn't have to do just with programming or developing. It's in general, we have high labor costs. Probably we have the highest labor costs in Europe. And to be open, a lot of people would like to come to Switzerland to work because the salaries are high and interesting. So we have, let's say, we are sometimes responsible for the drain in Europe, for the brain drain in Europe to attract people. But at the end of the day, it's probably not enough. And that's why the nearshoring of, let's say, routine jobs becomes interesting. Why is it important to sometimes outsource these routine jobs? Because Swiss e-merchants, they usually compete with low-cost markets, low-cost shops out of Germany, out of UK, out of wherever, China. And at the end of the day, every Swiss e-merchant is in a big cost competition with foreign competitors. So that's why nearshoring is an option for e-commerce merchants. And what could be the opportunities about optimizing labor costs? And sometimes it's not that easy, but there are content routine jobs which could be offered. The one could be pictures editing, movies, editing, sound, text, etc., or even text content, wherever we see the language challenge when we outsource text content. But on the other hand,
sorry,
sure
Patrick, could I ask you to speak louder? Somebody in the audience has requested that you can speak a bit louder.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Is it better?
Perfect, thank you, thank you.
So the content routing jobs could be a basis for Swiss companies to outsource these work at lower cost and optimizing their cost structure. Then the second point could be the social media routine jobs like analytics, reports, routine postings, where I see that with, let's say, a few delegation of routine jobs, you could save costs, reduce costs within Switzerland. On the other hand, we have to be, again, clear. It's always a question about language, text. So these people then should probably be able to speak or to write at least in German. But to close down this chapter, I think if you can offer Swiss companies, let's say just small items, small cookies of routine jobs, start with them. Start with just a minor part and then try to grow and take small steps, offer only where you really are the expert to Swiss companies. And maybe what is very special about Switzerland, Swiss usually look for the better solution. So probably not offer them right away the cheapest solution, offer them probably kind of a better solution. And they're usually willing to pay as well. Swiss love quality. Sometimes our perfection mentality goes too far, but you can make use of it. And what works the best, the reference case out of Germany or Austria or France, is always working to present your capabilities. I want to close with inside out. What do I see out of Switzerland? And there, of course, I have to talk about Swiss-made products. And I talk about D2C, direct-to-consumer brands. So famous Swiss-based brands for the world, like Mammut, Freitag, On Running Shoes. They just had their appearance at the stock exchange in New York, Victorinox, Zimmerli as an underwear, watchmakers. They are all riding the wave right now of D2C business. They start their own online shop and they start to attack separate countries on the world with their own online shop. And there, I think you as, let's say, as a hub or as IT companies or as agency, you should ask the question, what could you do for and offer them to go to Russia in terms of D2C e-commerce? What could be the D2C needs to export to Russia? Of course, as a company, I would say we have our core website. Please make it fit for Russia. What are the marketing channels we should use in Russia? How to deal with them? How to help this company to get more customers? Who helps us to communicate in Russian language? It's customer care, it's social media, it's writing newsletters, etc. Payment, and last but not least, what about customs, VAT, etc. It's always a hassle to open a new country. And there I see, especially with Swiss brands, a slot of opportunity to offer fulfillment of e-commerce to those companies. And usually those companies offering fulfillment services, they can offer it to various countries, various brands, and it's just probably a copy paste if you do it already, or otherwise you could think about how to start an offer like this. So if you're interested in Swiss e-commerce, with these links you find all our members. I have to say we have about 20% of our members are German-based, Austrian-based, France-based, so they can be part of our association. About 80% is Swiss-based, purely Swiss-based. And then you'll find some reports on e-commerce in Switzerland. And a very special report is the Only General Readiness report we put together with Google, which shows how ready Swiss companies are in terms of e-commerce and department store business. The report is available in English as well. To close, if you have more questions, do not hesitate to get in touch with us. We are there to help companies to get into Switzerland, doing e-business in Switzerland. Of course, we have contacts to agencies and other IT companies. If you want to do a matchmaking, just let us know. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patrick. That was really an excellently informative presentation. We have a question in the audience, which is purely logistical. Yaroslav, getting the presentation to all the participants, they would like to check the links. So that will be done. But I do have a question to you, Patrick, and you talk about the fact that any Russian software programmers, developers, or any companies in the Russia sphere that want to enter the Swiss market should go via agencies. Can you talk a little bit more about these? You mean these are human resource agencies? Are there any specific ones that you can mention that are specialized in digital, in IT? I wonder if you could say something about that.
Thank you for the question, and probably I was not precise enough. So most of the shops, as they do not have their own IT developers, marketing specialists in all details, etc., they work with kind of agencies, specialists. So it's not an agency, HR agency, but it's a service provider. So if you want to get a footstep into the market in terms of e-commerce, most of the companies are working with those, let's say, marketing, developing, whatever specialists. And I think that the value chain in Switzerland is very, or for e-commerce in Switzerland is very focused on these type of agencies. So there are huge ones like Debt, you know, probably Web Republic, etc. And then there are kind of middle-sized agencies which have a lot of work to do, which run out of capacities, and they are all looking for new capacities in the market, and they have to look cross-border for new capacities to fulfill all the requests they got. And just an example, I got a request about, let's say, 3-4 months ago for somebody. I need definitely now developers for Magento, and I'm already in Germany, I'm already in Poland, but the market is dry. Can you help us? So it's really, yeah, the market is dry, and they all go through agencies, and they are not looking for people, and that's why I say try to link in with those agencies, those specialists.
Can you then give our audience maybe a link to where they can find agencies of different sizes that they can connect with?
Yeah, I can prepare that for you. I can make a short overview what the agencies, what the partners could be to get in touch with. And then it's up to them, because I don't know all special focus of those companies, but that could definitely help to get the first contact, the first talks, the first discussions. I can do that for you.
That would be very helpful, I think, for our audience. Thank you so much.
I will add it to the presentation and send it afterwards. Then, huh? Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Well, rounding out the presentations, we are delighted to welcome Lukas Buhlmann, who is partner and head of the Digital Data Privacy and E-Commerce Group of Meyer Lustenberger Lachenal Flori, a law firm, who will talk about Swiss ICT minimum standards.
Yes, hello, and welcome from my side. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can. If you can put it in presentation mode, that would be very helpful.
I should be in presentation mode now?
Not quite. We can see the next slide. So I think what we would like is full screen, if you can manage that.
On my screen, it's already full screen.
Okay, well then. We'll live with that. That's fine.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah, so welcome from my side again also, and thank you very much for the opportunity to briefly give you and the audience a short introduction into the topic of cybersecurity prevention and the regulatory context. Now, obviously, the topic is very broad, it's very hot, cybersecurity risks, and in that context, of course, the question, what is the legal expectation, regulatory framework in order to be compliant as an organization, is a topic which, I could talk about 2 hours. So 15 minutes is quite a short time, but I will give you a brief introduction into the topic. It is, of course, important not only if you are actually directly active in Switzerland as an organization, but also if you are in business corporations with Swiss partners. And therefore, the Swiss jurisdiction is affected, our respective laws. I will give a few comments about that. They do not actually end at our borders. That is why the question, what kind of minimum standards does the Swiss legal Swiss legislation requests is of course of relevance also if you look for partners in Switzerland or if you think about entering the Swiss market yourself. I have said that it's a hot topic. The development of the importance to take care of cyber threats has and is still increasing exponentially. We also do see that in our practice with regard to the request for advice in this context from our clients. It's of course a mirroring also of technological development. You see that the forms of cyber risks, they do develop constantly, and of course so do the respective challenges for businesses to take this into account and prepare themselves well. Of course, when we talk about cybersecurity, the purpose is to know how you can actually mitigate and manage cyber risks. Cyber risks will never be you will never be able to eliminate those risks entirely, but you have to be able to mitigate and manage them. There are, of course, major steps. That's not really entirely, of course, a legal aspect. So many of you will already have had to do with that on an operational business basis. But I think it's also important, and that's a question that we are asked quite regularly also by foreign clients of us when they plan to enter the Swiss market, to know what the regulatory framework in that respect is. And we all know that there is, of course, a requirement or various requirements given by different regulations that force you to make sure that you have a state-of-the-art cybersecurity environment in place if you start processing data, but also, of course, in order to ensure business continuity of your operations in Switzerland. There is, of course, an overall compliance requirement to provide for secure data processing, and that is deriving from data protection law. I will come to that then in a minute. Switzerland is on the way to implement its new modernized data protection law. It's going to be pretty much in line with the GDPR that you've certainly heard of when dealing with European partners. And it does also contain specific rules about your duty to ensure a minimum standard of cybersecurity in your IT environments. There are various duties that derive from those requirements. We don't have to go into detail here. This is nothing really exceptional. It does exist in almost all the Western European jurisdictions. When we now look a little bit more in detail into this overall legal compliance requirement that derives from our data protection law, I have copied you here a short. Unfortunately, the law has not yet been translated into English. I'm sorry about that. We're going to have that, I think, in the upcoming months. But it's not so important to understand every word here. It's actually a specific article of the new Data Protection Act that says that a data controller is actually obliged to ensure that there are suitable technical and organizational measures in place throughout its organization to protect data and to ensure data cybersecurity standards. So then, of course, the question is, what does this concretely mean? And I'll come to that in a minute. But first, I also have to draw your attention, and because that's of particular importance, especially for foreign clients in our practice, because it's unusual. What are the consequences if you actually violate this provision or this duty. And the consequence is, and that's a bit surprising, especially if you compare it with the General Data Protection Regulation in the EU, we do not have a system of fines like the EU, but we do have a sanction system which is based on criminal sanctions against natural persons responsible within the organizations to ensure IT security. So this, of course, targets the management of companies, but also more lower ranked people in the organization that are, due to their role and their competencies, responsible for taking decisions about implementing minimal standard measures with regard to IT security. The maximum fine here is 250,000 Swiss francs. Again, this is a fine that would not be able to be taken over by the organization, by the employer. It has to be borne by the respective individual personally. And of course, there's also criminal record tied to it. So it's quite a severe, in a European, Western European context, quite a severe personal criminal sanction threat that exists here. And that, of course, raises the question for everyone that has to know what are those minimal standards that I have to ensure, how to measure that. And we if we look at that, we do find a dedicated website of the Swiss administration. You're going to find the links in this presentation that will lead you to a document called the ICT Minimum Standards. Now, this document, it's not a legally binding catalog of measures, because what measures are really adequate and minimal in a sense of ensuring the minimal legal requirements is, of course, also quite dependent on the sectors and the data and the way you process data. Technical but personal also, of course, personal related data. So that's why there is actually not yet really a clear catalog of measures that you have to ensure that they are implemented in your organization, and then you can say, I have actually fulfilled my responsibility here, my legal responsibility. But you have to make a case-by-case individual evaluation of that minimal standard. But this document, of course, can help you. It's a strong recommendation developed specifically for critical infrastructures and everyone that is active in those sectors. But it is also explicitly meant to be a guiding document for all the businesses active under the Swiss jurisdiction. It follows, of course, a risk-based approach. That means more responsibility to evaluate the respective technical requirements in each individual case. But it is developed in a way so that it is also compatible with known international standards, such as the ISO certifications or the NIST standards. It takes a little bit the absolute core of those international standards and puts them together in a framework of 106 quite concrete organizational technical measures. You will find them in the document. The document is available, or should be available according to the website, also in English. And you will also find there a self-assessment tool where you can compare the status of IT security in your organization to the standard, to this minimal standard defined here. Now, the law does not explicitly make a reference to this catalog, as I said, so it's not a binding document, but it's clear that there will be the day where someone will judge and fill that criminally sanctioned requirement with substance. And it is to be expected that this document here, as it has already been developed by our federal administration well before the entering or the finalizing of our new data protection law, that it will serve as a guiding point also for our authorities. And with that, I think I have already concluded my short introduction into the topic, and of course I would be happy to take questions if there are any. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lukas Buhlmann, for that very concise but targeted presentation, which is a feat given the magnitude of the topic. I was wondering, I don't see any specific questions from the audience. I'm just wondering if you could give us an example of the violation of a couple of minimum standards. What would be considered, what kinds of practices would be considered as a kind of transgression of Swiss standards?
Yes. Now, as I said, those measures, they cover technical aspects such as minimal encryption used if you transfer data, but then also physical measures such as, what are the standards of protection, physical protection of on-premise server infrastructures, for example. It also covers requirements such as to have proper standard procedures in place in your organization, that you have clearly defined responsibilities, who is responsible to ensure that your IT is secure, that you make sure that all your partners with whom you exchange data or to whom you give access to your systems, that they themselves fulfill minimal standard, that you have necessary contracts in place that make sure that these partners also give you contractual guarantees and open up for recourse actions. So it's really quite a wide bunch of measures, technical, organizational, legal, contractual, that you have to take into consideration. And for example, if you would have no procedure in place in your organization that defines how you deal with a data breach, for example. So if you don't have the capacity to immediately detect a data breach and be able to have the competent resources, know-how-wise, to know how to cope with that from a technical point of view, meaning to take the necessary measures to limit the breach, but also from a legal point of view, meaning that you don't quickly are in a position to know whether you have to abide to notification duties to authorities, because there are, depending on in what jurisdictions you are active, different deadlines that you have to respect. A very well-known major one is that you have usually 72 hours to report to data protection authorities if personal related data of employees or of your customers, of business partners have been affected by a breach. And you have to take, of course, also other preventive measures such as information duty. So if you do not in advance structure your organization in a way that if something happens like that, you are in a position to appropriately react and limit the effects, then that would be a classical issues.
Right. Thank you. Well, on that point, I guess we can now, we're coming to the close of today's program. It was a long program, but it was a highly informative program. And I very much hope that our Russian colleagues have seen the opportunities of Switzerland and vice versa, certainly the opportunities for cooperation and innovation. It now gives me great pleasure to ask Sergei Avramov, the head of the Russian Trade Mission in Switzerland, to make a closing statement.
Thank you very much, Dorit, for your tremendous moderating, and actually thank you very much indeed to all participants, and especially to our speakers for their really great presentations, which I think will enable us to go further and just to create collaboration between, or to help create collaboration between Swiss and Russian companies in the field of IT technologies. So there were really many interesting ideas, which we should also discuss with you, Dorit, and with other colleagues, in terms, for example, of establishing an association for digital matters. I think it is a very promising idea. So, I mean, after this conference, maybe we will continue our dialogue and just elaborate on that. Guys, thank you very much indeed for your interest to the Russian presentations. I think we have, as I said, selected those speakers from a great number of companies, and as promised, we will provide you with their presentations as well, because well, these presentations, I mean, it was our personal choice, so to say, and we thought they are really, they have most competences, and also in terms of languages, it is better to understand for the Swiss audience. But I think, having said that, I think that also other presentations, they are actually in English, most in English, somehow in German as well, but most in English. It was our request. And I think they could also be interesting for you on the Swiss side. So let's elaborate on that. We'll provide you with these presentations, and then we'll see how it will develop further. Thank you very much for legal advice, because it is really very, very important for Russian companies to understand the legal framework, to understand also the risk and the restrictions which could affect their activity here. And it was covered by the legal colleagues who made their excellent presentations during our event. And thank you very much for the representatives of the associations. Patrick, thank you. Dorit, anyway, thanks a lot. You know, we really appreciate our collaboration with your association. And Mr. Patrick Kessler, we met with you some weeks ago, and I was really impressed how much business do you represent in Switzerland, but also not only in Switzerland, but in Deutschen Raum, so to say. And you know, we would really be very interesting to continue a dialogue with you, how it could be then turned to the concrete business. So concrete business between Russian and Swiss companies, that's what we are aiming at, and that's what we are ready to promote. So that's our game, our target, and that's I think it was also very well elaborated, very well made event, and I would really wish us all to continue our further events of this level. So really, thank you very much to everybody who has co-organized and co-prepared this nice event. I hope, dear participants, that you did like this event. And that's what I can promise to you, that together with our Swiss colleagues, we will continue such events in this field and in other fields as well. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your time and for your dedication to this conference.
Sorry. finally, it had to happen. I couldn't say it better, Sergey. You said it exactly in the terms that I think it. I just can only repeat my thanks to you for this excellent partnership. And I would like to see it grow and blossom going forward, because I think there is, as you say, a lot of work to be done, but there are a lot of excellent ingredients to make something good happen. So thanks everybody. Spasibo vam большое. And I look forward to seeing you again at our next event. Thank you and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Bye now.